Hello, beautiful people, and welcome back to the Pinnacle Cup II. Last match of the day coming underway. It's MiBR versus Lyngby Vikings to go head-to-head and see who will be heading home today from the Swiss stage in this endeavor. My name is X-Warrior, of course, and by my side is the wonderful man Faraz, also known as Wild Deity. How are you feeling about the matchup today, man?
I mean, I love the fact that we've quickly switched aliases. We are now Dan Chan and Boffers. That's a
yeah,
oh,
okay,
there we go.
Oh,
X-Warrior's back on the board.
Yeah, don't quite
apparently
have that
I don't
head,
get my
I?
name changed. It's all good. I apparently just have to stick with the name Boffers. So, what's the matchup we've got today? MiBR versus Lyngby Vikings. Pavlos.
It's an interesting endeavor, isn't it? Because both these teams have lost 2 matches so far in the Swiss stage, which means they're on the verge of elimination. And they're also pretty much ranked individually when it comes to the world standings. Quite similar, I guess. MiBR number 53, Lyngby Vikings 39 last time I checked. Don't know if that has changed really. But other than that, like, these 2 teams seem to be in a tough spot where they do have strong performances. They do have good victories. For example, Lyngby Vikings 2-0 against Double Pony, but also Harvu victory from MiBR. But like I said, it is that MiBR squad that a lot of people have been looking at now in Europe on that land position, the final Brazilian team sort of remaining in this tournament, and a lot of South Americans are backing this team because this team is their final hope in this European tournament to see if they can progress further. But as we said, one loss is the one-way ticket to going back home when it comes to this tournament, at least.
Yeah, Pavlos. The one thing I do want to mention is that MiBR's performance on LAN has been fairly subpar. I know that we were expecting them to have a lot of new strategies and whatnot, and something that they could come out on top, especially in a cup like Pinnacle Cup. I mean, even if you're not having too much success on LAN, you can have some of those strategies come to light. But unfortunately, for the most part, they've only been suffering losses. So I don't think that their form is ideal right now. I mean, they've suffered losses even against Lyngby Vikings, against NIP, against Ago. So all across the board, I would go ahead and say that Lyngby Vikings, they are on a bit of an uptrend, but you know how it is. You know how the Brazilians can often be so explosive with regards to their gameplay. So I want to see how this pans out.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the Lyngby Vikings squad as well as we walk into it. All of you guys know what the deal is with them. Of course, we have had Christu come in as a replacement to Gensi this tournament, and he's having some marginal results, really. Nothing too substantial. I guess there were high expectations when you were looking at this guy. Coming into this tournament, I sort of thought there would be more impact plays coming in from him. It's not completely disappointing. It's just that he hasn't kind of made that dent into his opponents so far. He hasn't quite solidified himself as the go-to fragger when it comes to Lyngby Vikings, but I suppose there's still room for improvement. As we said, they are now 1-2 when it comes to the Swiss stage, having 2 losses against Ents and Mouse NXT, which they did lose in a 0-2 fashion on both ends of that stick, which gets us thinking how they can actually perform today, because they are pressured. But while we're heading right into the veto, and why don't you take us away with how things will be approached in this best of 3?
Yeah, MiBR, they've banned out Nuke, and this is pretty much a staple thing for them. They're often going to ban out Nuke. Lyngby Vikings not feeling too comfortable with Dust 2, although they do have quite a few wins on it. But MiBR, them picking Mirage, that's not really much of a surprise. It's their most played map in the past 3 months. They have a decent win rate on it. I mean, they've won half of their games. And Lyngby Vikings, they have picked up Inferno. Honestly, this works out incredibly well in the favor of Lyngby Vikings. The reason for that is that ideally, Lyngby Vikings would be picking, if they got to choose all maps, I do think they'd be picking Mirage, Inferno, and Vertigo anyway. Those are their 3 best maps, and the decider, it's not really MiBR's cup of tea now, is it?
It absolutely isn't. And you know what's really interesting to me? I was smiling throughout it when I realized MiBR, they have been giving Ancient a go for a while. Yeah. They've been trying to make it work for quite a long time, especially after coming to Europe. They've been putting it to the test. And everybody was thinking, okay, do they have some new strats to the table? Are they well prepared with it? Because what's going on? They're picking it every single time. They're not even leaving it as a decider, right? It's their own map pick. But, you know, they've played it already quite a few times. I believe out of the 6 times they picked it in this past month, they only were able to win 1 of those times. So you start to wonder, okay, what is going on? So I think it's good for them that they picked up Mirage from the start, which gives them a 2-0 potential. But when it comes to a 3-mapper endeavor, that's where things get tricky and sort of fall in hand to the Danes.
Absolutely. If anything, I even think that Inferno isn't particularly an amazing affair for them. I mean, they haven't had too much practice on officials, and that's sort of the thing that I don't entirely lean onto, because obviously when you've been prepping for a LAN, there's a fair chance that you might have not been playing a lot of officials, but there's a lot of scrimmage going into it. So maybe that's something that we finally see come to light. Unfortunately, their results from other tournaments at the moment, they haven't quite been giving us the evidence that we're looking for. And Lyngby Vikings, it seems like they're constantly on that uptrend. You can see that being reflected in their rankings as well, where Lyngby Vikings was a bit closer to that 50 mark before. They have been climbing. They've gotten to rank number 39, and I know that rankings can be a bit iffy when they're under 30, because obviously it can be a bit back and forth with regards to tier 2 and tier 3 tournaments. But I do think that the eye test for Lyngby Vikings, it is proving to be a bit better than MiBR. But we're going to head right into the game. So Pavlos, why don't you take it away?
Oh, that I will, Wild Deity. Heading right into the action, ladies and gentlemen, with MiBR taking on Lyngby Vikings. And currently MiBR's map pick, where Lyngby Vikings seem to be the favorite in order of Pinnacle odds. And I think we agree with that testament. We sort of talked about the picks and bans coming through with the maps, and that testament is definitely one that we both share.
Look at the buy here, Pavlos. All sets of Kevlar on the CT side. They're entirely going to be leaning into their aim, and I want to see how this plays out. Manx showing a fair bit of aggression in apartments. That's information being given up, but Dafu, it's also a dink received to the head. Down to 50 now. At least it wasn't the P250 that ended up greeting his forehead. But right now, MiBR, they've got a very split style of play. You don't often see this on the pistol round, because ideally, you want to run a Glock train that will make it a lot easier to simply overpower the USPs, get up close and personal. And this is going to definitely bait out the rotations from the Lyngby Viking squad.
Yeah, smoke towards market, but MiBR have got a different idea. They want to head towards the A site. Christu has a strong job ahead of him, but he won't be able to deal with the onslaught. Yell, double kill for him. SHZ already finding himself in the depths of jungle, and he is managing to kill off one. Dafu, he's challenging the position. The contact has been found, but Manx looks to reposition in that angle as well. He's been spotted. Headshot does not quite go to the way of MiBR, but I think they've done everything that was required. Bomb is down. They've got 5 players still remaining on the server, while Lyngby Vikings, they've only got 2 to work with. Manx, though, he's going to give it another go. He's going to start pushing through, makes that stairs his own, but he's challenged from a lot of positions. Dafu on that off angle. One head does connect, but exit. Killing off Manx means that Dafu is all by himself, and with 34 points of health, there's nothing much this man can do.
Yeah, Dafu didn't really get too much of a chance to participate in that round. He got a shot in, but at this point, he's basically guaranteed to be slaughtered here. Almost gets away with some damage, but that should be inconsequential. MiBR, very convincing round from them. I love how they threw that early smoke towards market, and it made it so much more difficult for Lyngby Vikings to come up with a decision. They had no idea if connector would be their domain. And a couple shots from Yell, that's all they needed to put the ribbon on top of an already great strategy.
Sort of came unexpected, right? And the fact that Yell was able to deal with the 2 players on the A site quickly in a matter of 2 seconds, he managed to get both players with that P250. Strong stuff showing from MiBR. Decisive as well. With the buy coming out, it should be a victory for them, but Lyngby Vikings are also looking to challenge.
Early nade, that's going to knock Christo back and also bring him within that one-shot headshot range of the MAC-10 and the Galil, so want to see how MiBR play this. Lots of movement towards ramp, and Lyngby Vikings, they are not set up for this, because their scout player that could potentially hold off the onslaught that is about to come in on ramp, he's not going to be present there. It's just Desert Eagles that have to hope that they can pop some heads off. Lyngby Vikings, no adjustment just yet.
Well, it's firstly the charge though, spots out one, damage inflicted. Yell closes up the deal as Bird from Sky positions himself into the jungle cubby. But apart from that, Lyngby Vikings sort of see the rotations coming in. MiBR, surprisingly enough, don't pull the trigger on the attack straight out of the bat. They want to set these utilities, pieces of utility out at least, and give them some space to work around with. But it buys time for Christu to get himself onto the site as well. Looking for the damage. 4 points of health remaining on him, but it's easy pickings coming through from MiBR. Manx looks the challenge, but Yell is just too quick for him, and he's got too good of a weapon to sort of deal with that endeavor. Dafu, second time in a row he's left all by himself, and again, Really, he's just looking for food in the market at this point because a kill is definitely not going to go his way. Well, at least
Yeah,
around.
the shelves
Maybe
are
a kill, but not around.
yeah, the shelves are quite empty though, so I don't think he's going to find too much other than advertisements for water.
It's interesting that there's advertisements about water and Mirage, right? But I guess it kind of makes sense. It's sort of the desert is sort of really hot. So yeah.
Yeah, so they're really pushing this product everywhere. If you look closely, I mean it's stapled all over the walls. I mean, if you want some, if that water company wants some branding guidelines, maybe they should check out Trustly instead. Because look at how tactically those graphics are placed around the map. Look at Pinnacle. You see that, right, Pavlos? Like that's placed in a much better way. Come on, you got to take a page out of their book.
Oh, absolutely. And talking about Pinnacle, I guess you guys can take advantage of an offer Pinnacle has at hand currently. 10 euros on a bet over at Pinnacle, in Esports at least. Gets you 10 euros in return if you sign up with the code CUP21. So head over to pinnacle.com/odds to get yourself that chance to really basically get free money out of it. But make sure you do bet responsibly, as it should be a fun experience, and only bet what you can afford. But MiBR looks like they can afford plenty of weapons. Well, that cannot be said about Lyngby Vikings, because at least they don't find strength in weaponry, but at least they might try and find strength in numbers heading over to that A site.
Yeah, they might just have their first fish on the hook, or so to speak, because there is a player in ramp in the form of Bowls, anticipating Dafu to walk out with that deagle, and I think he might have even spotted the barrel of it. MiBR. Some early aggression shown on mid, but for the most part, they're being silent. They're trying not to telegraph their plays whatsoever. Now, Exit moving up connector. His position has been spotted, Dafu. As he throws off a nade, it further confirms Bolt's suspicion that somebody might be behind triple, but overall, it's not like the T side can really make a dent here on A. It wouldn't be very wise to walk right into it, but they do still have better weapons. Let's see how this plays out.
Yeah, Dafford tries to hide away, but eventually it's the wall bang from Yale to chunk him down for Bolts to finish off that shot. Exit, aggresses, quick stuff coming through. And sooner than later, they'll realize that every single one of these players of Lyngby Vikings are stacked around this area, but no kill goes their way. Therefore, MiBR start things off strong with a 3-0 start.
What a way to start things off on Mirage. But now they have to fight off against the big guns. 3 sets of Kevlar. Bird from Sky and Mang still be missing the helmet, but that's okay. I mean, you are on the CT side, so that's not the worst of your concerns. Maybe Exit and Bolts can still be a menace in that regard, but let's see. Lyngby Vikings, they want to show off some early aggression here on mid, but unfortunately for them, the utility will be keeping them at bay. Christo, he's flashed out of his mind, so he cannot supplement the spray that comes out from his teammate. MiBR. Seems like they're going to tuck their tail and back away because the information present on mid simply isn't enough. They want to go for a simple A execute instead. That's interesting. Nobody left on mid. Pavlos, this is very unorthodox, and I don't think it's going to work out for them because there's 3 players remaining on the Lyngby Viking side that are watching A like hawks. Bird from Sky, in fact, he's playing it so proactively with a 2-man push that it'll be very hard to take care of them.
Do they anticipate that they both fall back to that dark side molly? That is a perfect stuff because now they have to move out of position. Do they expect the second one? No, they do not, but they do still get the kill. MiBR come out on top when it comes to numbers. Lyngby Vikings, although they had the good read, having 3 players onto that side of the map, it's not going to be fruitful for them.
This is where the call should be made for sure, that they have to go for a save, because MiBR, they have this under lock and key. Unless the first kill is found within the next 5 seconds, it would be an exercise in futility to even try to go for this. And that's what the decision is. The IGL has made it. Christo and Dafu backing off with the AWP and M4. At the very least, they should be able to get away with this. Christo maybe taking up a couple scratches in the process, but I don't think the fact that his position's been given away should be the worst case scenario. Coming in from underpass, Cello, I don't think he has a shot at all. Way too far from the opposition, but that's an AWP and an M4 being saved. Now, Pavlos, do they go for a buy here? Because the decision they have to go for is whether or not they have a shoddy buy to supplement the AWP and the M4, or do they save up? And it seems like it is going to be the former, because they can still buy up a fair bit of utility and have M4s across the board. Some sacrifices have been made, but not too many.
Yeah, it's not too bad, although these sort of buys can get dicey, but it seems like they've been able to get a decent one up through. But the fact that MiBR have already got themselves a 4-0 lead here really does help out the Brazilian side. But Bird from Sky is looking to be a cheeky man. Jump boost to come through. Yell. Does he spot it? Ooh, Bird from Sky. He's out in the middle of the open, but falls back in the safety of that smoke. But at least they've got the information of what MiBR are sort of going for in this endeavor. 2 players behind the mid sandbags. Ooh, Daffo has the backshot from it as well. It's just some early utility from MiBR, making sure that their mid control is theirs, but they actually back out of it. Lyngby Vikings, they're also spending utility of their own to regain that control, and sooner than later, they'll realize it's empty. They've repositioned. But now it means that they need to move out their players, spread them across the map, because currently, the entries of the A site are unchecked.
Absolutely, and I don't think Bird from Sky has been able to convey as much information as they could need. MiBR, because B Apartments has been left unchecked, there's still no surety of whether or not they should be calling the rotations in. And now MiBR, they want to move in. A smoke towards connector and a smoke towards CT does mean that they have some mobility to work with.
Ooh, I like this, because it means that Bolts could also work as a backstabber. Bird from Sky, when did that happen? Bolts is able to deal with him though, and SAC is there to recover. Manx, that's the trade on forwards, but they don't know where to go. They wanted to egress towards the A site. They
know
realized
now.
they want to kill towards the B, but now they want to head towards A. The decision has been made, and Yell, he's on the backsides of ticket booth. Needs to give the advantage towards his team, but Rouse, he's got a big job to do. Small spray down. They don't quite give the kills to him as Bolts quickly puts a bullet straight through his eyes. So it's MiBR to come out on top yet again. But that was an interesting endeavor, and Bird from Sky could have had a lot of a greater impact than he actually did that round.
I like how even when MiBR wanted to backtrack, they allowed Yell to play to his own pace, so they can sort of have, they can still have one foot in the water. They can still sort of have A as a backup policy, and that's exactly how it ended up working out. Because Lyngby Vikings couldn't possibly dedicate resources to both B and A as they had given up too much ground, instead Yell can creep up in the back, and even after Bolts got the kill, after Manx's position was given up on the B side, all they had to do was just follow Yell and make sure that he can stay alive for long enough. Ooh. Speaking of staying alive for long enough, in the last few seconds, they end up losing their last rifle. Now, down to the USPs. No chance that they go for a buy here, save for maybe a couple deagles, since Bird from Sky has some surplus money, but what a solid 5-0 start from MiBR.
Absolutely, and the odds are from the Pinnacle Cup. They've gone topsy-turvy, because initially it favoured Lyngby Vikings quite substantially, but MiBR, this is a strong showing for them. They're not being really challenged at this point, and it's showing. I reckon they can keep this going as well, but Lyngby Vikings, they need to draw a gamble out here, some sort of a play to at least put a dent in the economy of MiBR, because it's building up. Look at the money going on. They're feeling it. Exit. 5 digits as well. Actually 6. No, 5. I can't count for us. Come on. I really can't. He hasn't gone to the millions. It's not even possible. No, 5 digits of economy onto Bolts as well. It's really, really good. It's looking good for the Brazilian side. And Lyngby Vikings need to start considering how do they put a stop to this.
This is so much ground being already given up to to MiBR rather. Having a 6-round lead on the terrorist side, that is surely going to help when this is a CT-sided map. Now, we have casted this team before in the past, and we know that MiBR, historically speaking, they find a lot more comfort when it comes to that terrorist side.
Yeah, dictating the tempo is sort of what MiBR really fancy, really. If a team is challenging them, drawing out fights, playing it slow, that's sort of when their weakness is being pulled out. An AK-47 was recovered by Ral, so therefore 2 kills have gone to the way of the Danes. But apart from that, nothing else is given over, and MiBR cleanly pick up the 6th.
And you can see that Lyngby Vikings already start to sweat a little bit. The reason for that is that they've picked up a double op setup. They immediately want to throw a wrench in the works, maybe toss it up a little bit. Let's see if this kind of approach ends up working out for them. You can see how composed MiBR are. Like the little pillow in the background.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Get a little cushion.
I'd love to have one for my chair.
Absolutely.
But yeah. Look at how MiBR already allow Yell to aggress on forward, because he's sort of acting as their point man, the man that is getting entries, the man that is large and in charge. And if he does want to aggress on the B site, he's not going to have a terrible time doing so, because now he knows where Manx is based off of the audio cue. Both he is heavily favored in this duel, but he still ends up losing it out, regardless of the fact that he's inside the smoke. 4 versus 5, the tease. This is a one time where they actually do not have the advantage, but scratch that, because MiBR, they want to move right in.
Absolutely, 2 aggressions being pulled off towards both sides of the map, but it is victorious for MiBR, at least on the B side. Now, they can use this as an avenue to get this bomb down, but Lyngby Vikings, they're still lingering. They're still sticking out towards the A site. Cello, he's building up a fake here, but maybe he goes for the full-on commit. Expect bird from Sky to 4, but he's got 1 point of health remaining. Finally, the closer does come through, but there's still a player remaining onto that side of the map. Rals, he's got an AK at hand and could be a massive difference maker, but Yell... Hello? Dafu, he doesn't expect it. Now he spots him, but who gets the finishing blow? Yell is just too quick. Chrisu puts that AWP to the test, but it's MiBR now with the numbers, and they're heading quickly towards the B site.
I don't agree with how Lyngby Vikings played this at all, but hold that thought, because maybe Christo can still salvage it. He's being checked, however, and that's a shot in the back of the head. Rawls, last man remaining, coming in from apartments, banking on the opportunity that they do not check for a second man coming up the stairs. Perhaps he has a chance in this 1v3, but it would be slim. Only a smoke and a flashbang to work with, and he also has to check the close corner. Kitchen will absolutely not be his domain, as Cello is the one to watch it. And this is where he starts to second-guess himself. Does he go for it? Apparently not, as he's allowing the bomb to start ticking down. Maybe if he gets the kill on Cello, it signifies an opportunity, but for the most part, it is just him backing off with an AWP. Now, what I wanted to mention, Pavlos, is that Lyngby Vikings ended up sending 2 bouts of aggression that were quite spaced, and there wasn't any reason to do just that. If you've won out on your first duel, the call should be made to play it a little bit more passively. Yes, the idea that you have even more control if the aggression of B apartments works out, it does hold some water, but at the same time, the safer play for Lyngby Vikings, who are already down 6-0, is to not take that kind of risk when you have the advantage.
Absolutely. And to be fair, that was a big investment from the Danish side, wasn't it?
Yeah, double ops. Speaking of investments, though.
You're going right into the deep end, aren't you? Yeah, no, if you guys want to sort of do transfers from account to account online, Trustly is pretty much the place to do just that, because it's quick, it's fast, and it's safe, because no cards, no up download, no registration is required. But you can also use Trustly to make bets over at pinnacle.com/odds, where you'll find the latest in-play offerings when it comes to Lyngby Vikings and MiBR. But remember, sports should be fun, so play what you can afford and keep safe. Our full terms and conditions do apply in that regard. Well, Daddy, what do Lyngby Vikings do? Obviously, there's a loss bonus coming in right now, but they still are able to scramble 2 AWPs, both of them being glass cannons.
This is just showing signs of desperation from Lyngby Vikings. I'm not sure if I agree with these plays at all, because MiBR, they seem to be running away with it. The thing is, MiBR haven't shown this sort of fortitude in a long time. I believe their game against Young Ninjas was one of those games that they did show that they had a lot of concreteness when it came to their gameplay. But other than that, I'm not sure how they're able to take away 7 from Lyngby Vikings without too much of a fight. But from Sky, he's the insurance policy, and he's only good for 1. Christo, in the meantime, is there to supplement. Dafu hasn't been spotted, but the Molotov may just keep him at bay. The smoke not fast enough. And that makes sure that the Molotov comes out on top. 3v3, the CT is at a disadvantage, but Rawls is looking to reclaim eventually.
That's what they're looking for. This is sort of the first time that Lyngby Vikings are equalizing the scoreboard when it comes to the numbers. Of course, they need to be ready on the right side of the map, but MiBR, they're lurking on each end. Where Lyngby Vikings are lacking, Brazilian side surely will scout that out. Although the AWPs really work in this situation, because look at Manx. I think that location really helps out. But in the meantime, Yell will check to rouse his position and wins out on the trade. Now MiBR there on the front seat. They're the ones driving this car to victory. Flash coming through. but it's a fake towards B, and they've caused the rotations to come over. In the meantime, Bolts puts himself into the A site.
This is going to work out perfectly for MiBR. Once again, Bolts has stepped into the shoes of Yell. He's given up a lot of information, but maybe Manx can salvage this a little bit. The bomb now crossed over. SZ, he even catches the AWP in the back line. And that just leaves Manx all alone. Yell not even allowing him an opportunity to potentially spot out the head with the AWP. No, not at all. No good, sir. Bolts will wish him goodbye with a quick tip of the fedora.
It did look like he was tipping his fedora to his opponent's body there, but you know what, for us, this MiBR squad is looking a lot like the one we were hoping to see heading into this tournament. Not exactly what we saw throughout this Swiss stage so far, but they're showing potential. I really like it.
Because MiBR, obviously, you expect a lot of preparation going into this because these are massive opportunities that they've been granted, or rather they've earned. So to capitalize on those seems like the next logical step. Let's see if Lyngby Vikings can capitalize on this underpass aggression. 2 players, maybe they can catch off A-Side Z, and he needs to worry for Christo as well. So the odds are stacked in the favor of Lyngby as far as killing off A-Side Z is concerned, but everybody else, their weaponry is far beyond anything that Lyngby can fight against.
Ooh, Bird from Sky. It's not the first time he goes for this aggression, but it's not quite working out. Thankfully for him, Dafu is there as well to give him some assistance in that matter. Manx, though, puts that equal to the test. 2 kills going his way. Maybe the Deagles were the answer. They shut down 3 players, but Yell's looking to punish as well. He needs the kill. Sprayed on coming up, but Manx repositions with an AK himself. But now Bolts from the other side of the map will look to challenge. AWP lobbed onto Rolls, but it's not going to be good enough, is it? Completely taken out of the server, and Yell is the final member remaining. I wouldn't be surprised if Lyngby Vikings sort of went after him, but they found 4 AK-47s in this prospect, and they don't lose a singular player. They really love this round.
Although their economy has been down in the dumps for a while, saving up 4 AK-47s, maybe that can be their chance at redemption. You know, start rolling the ball a little bit more, because had they just won this off of Deagles and not really gotten too much to save, they would have had to rebuy Kevlar, rebuy M4s, and that would still put them within the territory where losing out 1 round, that completely changes everything. But Yell, he wants to do some damage on the way out. Only collecting the Deagle, though, that is a bit unfortunate if you're a fan of the T side, but he gets away with another AK, but that's still only 2 rebuys.
Yeah, at least he denies 2 rifles going to the side of Lyngby Vikings, but still, that shouldn't have really happened.
Not at all.
I guess lower tunnels went unchecked. Bird from Sky and Daffy were able to make it work in that regard as well. Manx, the 2-piece from him. Cello walked in, waltzed in actually, without checking that corner either. So I guess MiBR, that could have been a wake-up call for them.
Welcome back, everybody. You are watching Pinnacle Cup II, MiBR versus Lyngby Vikings. And the first map, it already went the way of MiBR now, didn't it, Pavlos?
It absolutely did. At the start, MiBR looked like they could have taken the whole thing 16-0, but no, Lyngby Vikings retaliated at some point, managed to bring things back, but we're heading right into it, onto that banana side. Cello putting head right onto Riles. Dafu shortly falls as well. Boats quickly jumping up. MiBR translating the previous momentum into a round win here on Inferno.
You blinked, you missed it. Probably half the viewers didn't even get to catch that. Because I didn't. I blinked. What was that? It was such a quick round.
And it's as if, like, Lyngby Vikings then barely moved from their spawn.
Yeah, they just got shot in spawn. Somebody from MiBR, they just got on one of these cooties that are around the map, and, well, they made their way to T-spawn. Lyngby Vikings now, they want to be a bit more aggressive on Banana. It's not like their aggression in the previous round paid off, but Rawls probably aggressively...
Ooh, do they check this?
Oh no.
They don't. They thought nobody would be hiding out, but the incendiary went wide for that reason. Lyngby Vikings, they get themselves a freebie of a kill, and it's all down to Cello when it comes to this B site defense. Can he hold it down? Sprayed onto the first, manages to receive the second one, drops back, swings out for another. He might have brought the time as Yell does come through as well, but there's two players remaining on the Lyngby Viking side with a bomb going down and 2v3 endeavor.
Yeah, they've got an M4 and they've got a Tech 9 to work with. No other guns being recovered. They've got to have some aggression so that they can isolate one of these duels. But if they decide to go Cathedral, they're going to have two players to deal with. Bird from Sky, does he win the swing out? The MP9 comes out on top. Ace at Z picks up both. That should be a relatively easy round for MiBR. I'm a bit surprised that Rawls even gets away with that kill on Banana. But you know what it is. It's a good old strategy of just blowing wind at your microphone so the flames don't touch you.
Well, if you use that strategy, then, well, Daddy, no wonder I barely play with you anymore.
Anymore? You've never played a game with me, and I'm so sad about it.
Yeah. Oh, well. Well, there you have it. It is MiBR to get themselves a victory. Slightly expensive, but considering that some buy efforts have been brought in from Lyngby Vikings, it isn't that bad. But here comes a full enforcement coming through from the Danish side. They've got the big guns being thrown out. Can they deliver and close the gap before it even extends too far out of reach?
They've got the guns. They've got a couple Galils, a MAC-10, an AK-47. The big boy cannon is only going to be in the hands of Rawls, and he wants to take initiative, and he wants to take Cello's head off. Very successful in doing so, but a nade will follow through some of his health. A Molotov to allow Lyngby Vikings to push up without the threat of an AWP player or somebody swinging out with a flashbang. Only one defender remaining on the B side, but now reinforcements are starting to arrive. But as they do, the bomb is making its way back. Instead, they just leave one player in the form of Mangst, rather Rawls, to keep MiBR here. They want to make sure that the rotations won't be coming in.
Distance damage there. Rouse takes the most brunt force of it. Exit, he's all by himself on this other side of the map. No, he's got also reinforcements from the upper side of it. Yell will be able to deliver repositions, but does he hear the commotion? No, drops back. Different angle. Which will Lyngby Vikings to trickle forwards. MiBR polarized across the map. It's a brute force attempt from Lyngby Vikings to get themselves onto it. Manx pushes through, gets the kill, and now will consider a push on forward. Smoke coming through, blocking down Library, but a part-time of exit position. Let's see if they can actually spot it out instead. They move across arches. Ooh, this could be strong.
Only 20 seconds as well.
Bolts, I think, is aware of this position, though, and he will be holding down that ground. Spray down onto the first incendiary to block them from pushing through, but they're going to go directly into the flames. Bird from Sky tries to reposition. Bolts is really low, but Dafu retaliates onto the site. It's all up to Bolts, but no. He does get killed off and exit.
Do they even get the bomb here?
And there's nothing he can do. Ooh, that was close.
Yeah, Bolts almost defended the bomb site there in that instance. The Molotov to block them off, that was near perfect. And you can see that Lyngby Vikings took the brunt of the damage in that instance because they're all below 40 points of health. They had to run through the Molotov. They had to get themselves onto the bomb site just so they can quickly get the bomb down. MiBR, they had a near-perfect reaction to that play. Have a player watching CT. Unfortunately, it doesn't really work out for them too well. It's not like Lyngby Vikings get away without a scratch. I am a bit disappointed to see that Christo isn't really turning up. You saw how his performance bombed out entirely on Mirage, and once again, it's not like he's had a strong start in Inferno. But still, I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. There's still a lot more rounds to go in this series, especially if they take it to a third map, which they likely will, because this is their own map pick. Maybe we can see some signs of life from Christo.
Yeah, starting off in this game, we sort of saw Lyngby Vikings being favoured in the grand scheme of things, right? Considering the map pool, and this is their map pick. This is the reason why Lyngby Vikings were favoured, right? Inferno. And this is sort of where we expect them to bounce back from.
MiBR, they know that their weaponry is limited, so they have to go for some proactive plays. The head is spotted and exit. Will get away with a frag, run back to the safety of apartments, but in the meantime, Lyngby Vikings, they want to move on to B. The Desert Eagle comes out on top for bolts. It is doing damage through the smoke. Only 3 players remaining for Lyngby Vikings, and although they were able to pick up a very important frag, or rather important round in the previous one, MiBR want to reclaim it right away. The weaponry advantage still not coming the way of MiBR, especially with Rawls being a bit extra careful and throwing away the M4. Cello.
Oh, no!
The flashbang was near perfect.
It was, but not his shots. Absolutely not. Oh, I think he panicked there. He saw 3 players and couldn't decide between them and decided to shoot in the middle. That's what I tend to do in my games.
Put a knife on your barrel, split your bullet.
Pretty much. Smokes coming through from Lyngby Vikings, though, as they do head on towards the B site, and Molly's to block them out of sight. These are perfect. Yell needs to move out of position, and now could be out in the open for his opponents to get these shots through. Flash again is perfect, but the shots, not quite. Yell finds safety, but the nade will be his final mark. Manx does show his presence onto the site. Rouse will spray through the smoke, but they don't quite find the finishers. There might be still healthy enough to kill off the rest of them. SHC puts a bullet straight through Rouse, even though it's through the smoke. Christu, he's down to 7 points of health. He's literally 1 bullet away, but Manx will try and help him out. Christu, he hits these shots. 1 left on each side, but no. MiBR, they come out victorious, and Nades and the Deagles to give them this victory.
I can't believe that MiBR come out on top of that, even with the weaponry disadvantage and the flashbang play not coming out in their way. 3-1 scoreline. MiBR are off to such a good start on the CT side. And this is a bit surprising because, like we mentioned on Mirage, historically speaking, they do a lot better on the terror side. You saw how they went away with that 9-0 winning streak as far as Mirage was concerned when they were on the terror side. But to see a change of pace, to see signs of brilliance even when they're on the CT, it would be a good change of pace. But we haven't really gotten into the nitty-gritty, the meat and potatoes of the game. We should be seeing it very soon as Lyngby Vikings come up with a gun round of their own.
Now MiBR. This is their chance to pull ahead, right? This is their chance to close things out. Vertigo is not where they want to go. Inferno, they can carry this momentum onwards and have a good showing on the CT side. They can start pulling ahead. 2-0, we'll keep them in the Pinnacle Cup. Because a loss in this series would be an elimination. And a ticket, one-way ticket to home. MiBR definitely don't want that. They came in here with prospects of going quite far, heading those playoffs, but I guess they'll have another chance if they get this victory today. Lyngby Vikings not going to make this easy. Bird from Sky easing up forwards. SHC peeking through in time. No, Bird from Sky. Bullet straight between his eyes, and now they move towards the B site.
This is an opening opportunity for them. But the smoke from MiBR is perfect. It acts as a bit of a one-way for Cello to spot out a duel first. No. But does he get spammed here?
Bolts, he's also left the site as well because they think it's an A-site take. Divide and Conquer has worked wonders.
Oh,
but
no!
Lyngby Vikings, they bamboozled themselves. They don't know how good they had it. And now they head towards the A-site. How good is the read from MiBR? They hold down their line. Made, it's perfect. Bird from Sky has to fall. Lyngby Vikings. Oh, you're playing D&D and you just rolled the 1 because MiBR completely dismantling you. Rouse all by himself. But oh dear, MiBR completely crush their opponents.
Honestly, if Lyngby Vikings just held W, it was all a matter of time before they got the bomb down. It's not like MiBR had the perfect setup for it or anything. They just had to win out an aim duel against Cello to isolate the player. 2 duels in different angles where they cannot help each other, that's something that definitely favors Lyngby Vikings. But in the attempt to play 4D chess, they end up missing out on all the dimensions and give up the round to MiBR.
They ended up losing backgammon as well.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly enough, I'm really good at that game. I'm really, really good at that game. Do you know how to play backgammon?
Unfortunately not.
Well, next time, well, when we head on LAN, I'm going to teach you.
Mm-hmm. Like, we just do no analysis work. We just play backgammon.
Absolutely. Instantly throwing that one again onto mid, though. As Lyngby Vikings, they went for a divide and conquer technique. Now, 2 players onto the apartment side, although it does look like they want to group up together and join their forces to take this site. MiBR, the split towards A might not be as favorable as on the other side.
If Lyngby Vikings had a brackets, this is ideal for them. But it doesn't seem like they're gravitating towards the right bomb site, like, ever. The bomb now making it so...
decision-making isn't quite on point, is it?
Yeah, it seems like MiBR are getting a bit lucky in that instance, and with only 40 seconds remaining and all players alive on the MiBR side and a smoke to keep them at bay, this is carved out for MiBR.
Ooh, Cello anticipating that corner to be taken over first, but it all just comes down to a perfect flash from Lyngby. Will the fake towards A? Do they read it? I think Yell is going to move towards it. Soon they'll realize no players have trickled through, so it is going to be the B site take. They can hear the commotion. Molly's being thrown out as well. Cello putting in the bullets. Bolt as well. Bolt's hold his ground. He's able to find 2 before he has to fall. Doesn't quite deliver onto Rouse, which means that he's all by himself remaining. But Yell, he's got an AWP here. Rouse goes for the bomb plant, but Yell will just wait out until the peak comes through. Easy pickings. Bomb does go down for Lyngby Vikings, but it's a round to go towards the Brazilian side.
Yeah, after getting that bomb plant, there was no way he gets away from the AWP. There's only one corner he could have planted in, of course. Man, that's a strong start for MiBR, and you could hear the tick there in the chat. I do think Lyngby Vikings might end up going for a timeout. Question mark? Okay, apparently not.
You would have thought they would have brought out a timeout, right? Because I do recall when it came to Mirage, it was a timeout that sort of managed to get themselves back into the game after I believe a 7-0 deficit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but didn't the same happen for Lyngby Vikings on the first half?
I'm not entirely sure.
Maybe I remember correctly. Maybe I do not remember correctly. But it damn sure did happen for MiBR in the second half, at least.
Yeah, for sure. To deny the little fake comeback, absolutely. But I want to see if that Lyngby Vikings can throw a wrench in the works, maybe switch up their strategy a little bit more. The idea to wait until the last few seconds of the round and then go for a play, it simply doesn't work out. Because MiBR is a team that doesn't really like taking initiative as far as pushes are concerned. Maybe they'll throw in a couple flashes here and there, maybe charge banana, but that should be about it. Their CT side, mostly consisting of passivity, this works to their favor because Lyngby are taking way too long to get onto bomb sites. But now, you can see this being telegraphed. They're going to play it a lot faster.
Ooh, yeah. Can he play the pixel play? No, he cannot, but Cello, he's good enough to hold down his line. Smoke to come through. SHC upon rotation still delivers. Mike's, he's tried to catch them off guard multiple times, but it doesn't quite go their way. And quickly again, they try and rotate towards the safe side. Will this be successful? Because so many times it has not.
I mean, they've got the time to get on the bomb site. Unfortunately, they don't have the positioning for it.
What?
That caught me off guard entirely because Rouse and Dafu, they win out very important aim duels. And this is Lyngby Vikings' chance to get back in the driver's seat. A 3v3 retake ensues, but the HP advantage is still heavily in the favor of MiBR. Oh, they're going for a save. They don't even challenge it.
What? They lose both players onto the A site in a matter of milliseconds. And now they're back out of it. Now we're not dealing with that. No. Let's stay out of that. I don't blame them, considering that economically they're not doing too swell. And they want to make sure that they at least run away with a bye. But I think it would have been even further devastating to the Danish side. Especially considering Dafu and Rals are fairly low. But I guess they don't quite know how low they were. So, I don't know, man. I guess retaking on Inferno isn't the easiest. And they might want to take the gamble.
Honestly, There's no way you can check pit, mini pit, graveyard, and the A bomb site itself, along with having to clear out apartments consistently. So it does make sense why they would go for a more solid approach or something a bit more sustainable with regards to saving your money, taking it to the next round, and having a proper gun round to work with. So I like their decision making in that regard. But had they had the knowledge of the HP, I think they would have made a different decision.
Maybe so, but at least Lyngby Vikings have a foot in this game. Smoke out, a lot of utility being thrown out initially. MiBR, I love the fact that they dedicate 4 players early in this position.
Oh, Ross took a nade to the chest.
Oh, he does, and the poor man somehow has his heart beating, showing to the world, but he's still alive, which I guess is the main part. But that's all the damage utility gone from the MiBR side, as 4 of them have dedicated it towards B.
This doesn't make it easy pickings as far as Rawls is concerned, but everybody else, it's not like they've taken too much damage. Yell, he should be able to get an opportunity here as the player moves out of Boiler. Self flashes him. Yell wants to reposition. Try to go for another shot at a kill, and he does.
Successful in that regard. But from Sky, talking about success, this is where he's been able to come out victorious before, and it looked like he will come through it again. Still breathing, 11 points of health, but still puts Lyngby Vikings back on the board. Exit does close things out, and considering that 2 players on this Danish side are very low, the chances of them going for this push are fairly slim. But you know, knowing that MiBR might be putting 2 players per site, they are considering it. They are going for it. Christu shows his mark, finally connects with a spray down, double that up. Christu, welcome to the game, sir. Does MiBR go for it? Now they don't have equal numbers. They're actually less. But I think they know that they've damaged them substantially. Cello falls. Oh dear. Lyngby Vikings, 2 rounds in a row. They're able to get themselves onto the safe site, and I think they will be eating that cake too.
The crazy thing is that Lyngby Vikings haven't even done this off of any crazy strats. It's simple individual pickings. Christo with 2. And we saw Dafu turn up big in the previous round. We've seen Rouse go absolutely pop off, both in Mirage and a bit in Inferno. So for MiBR to lose these rounds, I think it does simply come down to individual signs of brilliance. Whether or not that's sustainable, I personally wouldn't bet on it, because you cannot rely on your team time and time again to come out on top with individual duels without really having as much strategy to go into it. But MiBR, they're very similar in that regard, you know, relying on individual explosiveness. But they do take a timeout because their economy is down in the dumps now. So in the meantime, Pavlos, how about we dig a bit into Pinnacle?
Yeah, you guys have been seeing the odds come up on your screens left and right, and currently MiBR favourite considering they are 1-0 in the map scoreline. And ahead in rounds as well, though Lyngby Vikings look to be close enough. But you can also bet on these odds if you head over to pinnacle.com/odds. And they've also got a nice offer going on. So using the code CUP21 upon sign-up will give you €10 in return after you bet €10 in esports. So go ahead and do that. It's a nice little offer that you could take advantage of. But Lyngby Vikings, they could also take advantage of MiBR's mishaps when it comes to their economy, because it's completely battled down, hasn't it? There's nothing much these guys are building off this round off.
Oh no, Lyngby Vikings, they wanted to go for a dry peek to be able to surprise the enemy team, but MiBR, they've completely shut this down. Oh, it's the dastardly Deagles. Oh no.
Oh no, not again. MiBR.
I imagine an old man waving their cane like, oh no, it's those Deagles again.
It's those goddamn Deagles all over again, I'm telling you. Get off my lawn. Gosh darn it. All right, that's enough.
I don't think MiBR have any intentions of getting off of this lawn.
You know what? They've been at a deficit before when it comes to numbers and health, but Lyngby Vikings, they managed to make this A-site work. Christu, oh dear. This AWP hasn't been doing so great for this man, has it? Hasn't been treating him well. The Eagles for MiBR may beg to differ. They like this. Pistols. Actually, it's the little USB to do a lot of damage. Same with the Deagle of Yell. Christo is all by himself, and there's literally nothing he can do. He's being lured out of the position with nades thrown at him, rocks as well.
Look at their lineup.
Looking to bounce back, and there's also a rotation coming in from Cello to try and challenge this as well.
Look at the lineup with regards to weaponry, Pavlos. They've recovered AKs. They've got their own economy. They've got armor on 2 players, and it's a flawless round. So, with the exception of Yell, not even Yell, they're going to need no rebuys as far as guns are concerned. And that's insane for MiBR. Look at how much economic leeway that grants them. Lyngby Vikings, they have to be kicking themselves for this, because now they're the ones that have to crunch the numbers, find the last few dollar bills in their back pockets, look through the couches for a bit of change under the TV remote. And MiBR, on the other hand, they're happy.
Oh yeah, happy as they could ever be. I don't know why, but the Deagle rounds from MiBR are just too strong.
Yeah, that kind of momentum has carried on over from Mirage as well. But this time we see MiBR going for something a bit more orthodox. A 2-and-3 setup. 2 on the ace, 3 on the ace side, 2 on B. And this kind of passivity is what paid off for them when we ended up seeing Mirage. Lyngby Vikings. Now, the bomb is still a bit indecisive. They haven't established any brackets control, and they haven't found any aim duels. Just a bit of utility damage has been exchanged among the 2 teams. Lyngby silently walking all the way around Banana, looking for a bit of info, but I think this is where the call is made to start regrouping.
Yell and exit both holding a similar angle. Smoke slightly too wide as it blooms, giving space for Lyngby Vikings to check from, but that won't be challenged from MiBR anytime soon. They actually move back towards the site. All 3 of them just give space for Lyngby Vikings to move onto. That is an interesting affair. But at the same time, they also buy time, because Lyngby Vikings, they will be challenging these corners. They're all taking it slow and methodical, but they won't be finding anyone either.
Oh, this is tough. There's no way they can hold on. They can get onto the bomb site because the Molotov is perfect. Lyngby Vikings, they're going to have to win out some incredible duels.
Oh, they need to win, and they need to win fast. Exit able to hold down his ground, and so will Yell, but quickly shut down both from Sky and Dafu, trying to bring things back. Oh dear! 5 seconds remaining. Are you kidding me? 2 versus 3 Lyngby Vikings. Have they done it?
MiBR don't even move Cello and Bulls. They will firmly super glue their butts onto the B site. No reaction from them. I mentioned that because of the Molotov, this would be near impossible for Lyngby Vikings, but it doesn't seem like impossibility is in their vocabulary. What a round from them. And by the way, there have been 2 rounds where this has been the instance. The fact that the bomb came down to the last 4 seconds. So Lyngby, they've been getting many saving graces coming their way. And MiBR, they're going to have to dig into some of the money that they previously built up. They're only able to save up 2 weapons, so it's every man for themselves as far as the economy is concerned. And maybe this is Lyngby's chance to show us why they picked Inferno.
Not looking too bad from the Danish side. It was down to the wire, but they still calculated time they needed to win on their duels and still get the bomb planted with a second to spare. MiBR switching up the pace with their aggression. Rolls lines things up, but Bolts is able to survive with 1 point of health. 1-for-1 trade at the end of things. Looking to hide away, but still doing a lot of damage to Bird from Sky before he has the fall.
Honestly, I would shudder at the thought of calling it a 1-for-1 trade, because Bolts has way too much HP in that instance. Let's see how Lyngby Vikings play this one out, though. They haven't established banana control because Bolts was able to cement himself forward. They haven't gotten brackets, but that's where they want to move, banana. The rotation being cheated by MiBR with no information being called. This is exactly what Lyngby Vikings would be ideally hoping for. Manx being the first man in charge, At least Exit is in a spot where he can potentially pick up a couple kills before he falls, but he's going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting to allow his teammates to reinforce.
4v5, Exit needs to hold his ground. Oh, doesn't quite find the closer, but eventually kills up Bird from Sky. Manx does retaliate, but I think that's it. Lyngby Vikings. And they've found themselves a barren B site. They found a fountain full of goldfish. They like it. They like it, therefore they'll explode it. Not quite sure what the logic around that is and why you like something and then explode it. You know, I don't know. Might be some hobby of theirs, but the moral of the story is they've done it, and there might be others, nothing they can do about it.
Honestly, I'm not entirely on board with being a fan of Inferno because of how easy saves can be. The bomb sites are so far away from each other that the rotational time allows you to get away with almost full team saving. It is a good decision from MiBR, of course, but I do like it when teams are funneled into fights because the map makes it much harder to save. MiBR closing in on giving up their lead, but it seems like the Pinnacle odds still favor them quite heavily. 1.3 something to 1.337. Okay, maybe that's the magic number that ends up granting them the victory. Who knows?
Maybe. Elites. Let's see if it helps them out.
Let's see if they can. Yeah, let's see if they can actually be elite on the server. Seems like MiBR are losing their grip on the lead that they've built themselves up. Lyngby. This is the first time in a while where we've seen Christo chime in for an opening frag, so this is how they want their AWP player to pan things out. Yell wants to quickly reclaim any of the lost advantages, or rather the disadvantages that they've built up. But he doesn't get much of a chance here. The bomb, if it goes up banana, they're going to have only bulls to deal with.
It feels like MiBR only won the rounds where Lyngby Vikings were making strategical errors and mistakes, and were overthinking, outplaying themselves. And currently, the fact that their Lyngby Vikings are just playing a normal game of Counter-Strike without making too many mistakes, it means that MiBR, there's nothing really much they can do about it. Soon to equalize the scoreline as well. MiBR, this is their bye round, and it just feels like Lyngby Vikings has steamrolled through them as if they were only just had pistols. Although you could also see Dafu trying to shut down these remaining players. Jello might be aware of it, but it looks like Dafu will have reinforcements as well in that regard. Waiting for his teammates. Jello doesn't quite see his opponents just yet. All a matter of timing when it comes down to Yell as well. Thanks. Looking to peek through. Easy picking. Does Dafu elect to choose peek through? Bird from Sky also putting his mark onto this position. Waiting for a flash, maybe. Yell delivers, holds down his ground. Ooh, Shallow as well. Rouse finds the close onto one, but Shallow survives. They don't save the AWP, but they do save the M4.
It was a valiant effort, though, MiBR. They wanted to fight for the weapons to be saved tooth and nail. But this is where it's all tied up. Now, on the T side, Lyngby Vikings can start to feel a bit of comfort. That's also because it's not like MiBR have much bank to work with, so ideally, Lyngby should be sliding on forward. They should be getting ahead as far as the scoreline is concerned. But you know how those Deagles have worked out for MiBR in the past, so I wouldn't give them as easy of a time. Cello, even with a 1 HP, he can somehow swing out and take Bird from Sky out of commission. Rawls, anticipating that there's still a player behind Sandbag, he wants to aggress. He wants to find the second player, but Yell sneaks away with the Deagle kill.
Yeah, Cello was the only man with a rifle as well, so you won't be able to have any more impact in this game. So it just gives Lyngby Vikings easy access to a victory here. Easy access to regaining the lead. 7-6. And MiBR just feels like they're not quite present for the past few rounds. I'm just wondering how they can bounce back.
I think you might be calling it a bit too early, Pavlos, because the position of the Deagle, that can still make it very expensive. And if he can interrupt the bomb plant, that's the opportunity for the reinforcements to come in.
They check it, don't they? Dafu?
Yeah. Oh no, Dafu's actually not playing from Graveyard. That means His instinct wouldn't be to check it. Yell, now that he's telegraphed his position, yeah, okay, it is over. No Deagle magic is going to come their way. In fact, Rawls puts Yell in the graveyard.
I understand that you believed it for a second for us. I definitely do.
There was some belief.
They're no strangers to pulling Deagle rounds out of thin air. But still, Lyngby Vikings, they're starting to look convincing. I guess we saw that previously on Mirage. But by that time, MiBR had already had a stellar lead, right? 7-0 from the start. They already had a decent halftime scoreline as well. But that isn't the case anymore, is it? MiBR, they've got less rounds than their opponents right now, so they cannot afford to make these mistakes.
It's strange to think that MiBR started off with a very strong lead, and it looked like Lyngby Vikings had absolutely no shot at getting back into it, but with a bit of an upset going their way, a couple bomb plants at the last few seconds. Seems like the sun might be out for Lyngby Vikings. MiBR this time, they want to aggress on Banana. They've got 3 players dedicated to it, but Cello, he's feeling very pressured. The nades, it seems like they're chasing him down, and more utility will make sure that the T side can get a bit more control, but that's at the expense of Bird from Sky.
That's a leeway that MiBR may want to take towards victory. Of course, the Lyngby Viking split has commenced once more, and MiBR might not be prepped for it. The lineup is different. They don't check ups. Yell, he'll check it now, but it's all a matter of timing, isn't it? Is aware of it. Manx is able to find exit, but Yell retaliates still. Looking to get themselves inside. They haven't quite gotten the bomb. They've pincered Yell in, though, and Daffel will try and make that work. Slowly to peek through. Is he careful enough? No, the timing is right for Dafu to capitalize upon. Christu still is alive with that AWP. MiBR not close enough to this. The bomb plant hasn't quite commenced, but now they will know. And Shallow is nowhere near to be found. Lyngby Vikings, essentially, for the next 20 seconds, they're in a 2v3.
How quickly can the reinforcements arrive for the T side? This is a doable round for either. But MiBR, they've been very careful in going for these retakes. It doesn't actually seem like they want to entirely commit to this. But Bolts, now that he's found the first frag, they want to sprawl right in. Dafu gets caught off guard. Bolts picks up a second kill, and Rawls, can he interrupt this? He's been checked out. He's being anticipated, and SZ will get himself a second one on the tally. MiBR right back in it.
That was actually a really strong retake from MiBR. No usage of utility, well, not much of it, and they were really quick on the trigger. I guess Lyngby Vikings weren't quite set up to receive that retake in a good fashion. One player was absent from the site. He slowly tried to make his way towards apartments. Other than that, MiBR, that was pretty darn good, which puts them still on the radar and still one of the delegates of this game.
Now both teams contesting for that first half victory. Lyngby Vikings, they've carved themselves out in an insane T-side half. All things considered, the way it started, they've done a stellar job, but can they put the cherry on top? The icing is still left to be found, but Rawls, now he's behind them. The audio cue is there, and he is behind enemy lines. He wants to get a bit more, but will this greed pay off for him? They haven't checked out the smoke. Bolts, an easy tap, but he doesn't know that there's a second player there. That's at the cost of a teammate. A 3v4 ensues, but now Lyngby Vikings, it should be a very comfortable take for them.
They've got the numbers as well, but they left Dafu still in mid to try and interrupt the rotations. Rawls repositions towards Cathedral, and SHC is no longer on the server. MiBR, you may have thought they've regained composure. Scratch that. Una reverse cards being thrown out left and right at Lyngby Vikings. They've just placed one in the lap of MiBR. Can they turn things around, though? They need a miracle. 2v4 in the last round of the half. They're going for it. They don't have any other choice. Slowly, the time will tick through. Yell, push through the smoke as it does fade out, but 2 players hiding out towards dark. Will that be good enough? Chrisun moves away, peeks out. Yell able to deliver. Yell with a second one, but they're running out of time. They can't get the defuse on. It's all down to Dafu and Manx, and they may be able to do it. Holding on to it. Manx will show his presence, but it's too late. Lyngby Vikings, they win the half in an 8-7 fashion.
the fortitude to come back from it. They got absolutely steamrolled on Mirage. They had a bit of a comeback going. Initially on Inferno, they had lost their grip as well. And I do think that it's a bit of a surprise that they come out on top in the first half. Not just bring it close, not just make it competitive. No, not at all. Instead, they've gotten themselves a lead here.
Oh, interesting statistic, but I never saw this actually happen. There was one suicide on the side of Lyngby Vikings.
I think it might have been a disconnect and a reconnect. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe. Out of all the statistics, that's the one I looked at. Interesting. Lyngby Vikings. Let's see if they can deliver. They've already lost one player as MiBR find they went to the A site, but it looks like they're well in a good place to go for this retake.
Lyngby, they're already down a man, and this is going to be next to impossible because it feels like they've locked their positions in. 2 in pit, 3 on the site. The USBs will have to come up huge, and Bird from Sky wants to do just that. The Glocks not really coming to fruition. The shots finally start to connect as Exit and Yell get a kill apiece. Apartments has been thwarted, and Bird from Sky, even though he's good for 2, he knows it is not enough.
Okay, that could be what MiBR require to get themselves back on the radar, back in their way to close things out. 8-8, but it's MiBR with a better economy to get themselves ahead in this position. How does Lyngby Vikings respond, and when? Can MiBR keep things flowing without throwing? I think that's a massive question in everyone's mind.
Flowing without throwing. I like that. I think I'm just going to write that down, take credit for it in the future when I do bring it up. But yeah,
might be one of your rap battles and stuff. Very likely. I see that happening.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But we've seen MiBR come out on top with a few Deagle kills here and there. Maybe Lyngby can replicate their successes. If MiBR can end up winning this round, they have free entry, a free walkway to that double digits mark. But they've got to be careful about this. A 4-man stack from Lyngby Vikings on A. They want to make a lot of damage happen on brackets, and Elbow being spotted as Bird from Sky wanted to get a better view of mid. That's going to cost them. A smoke being thrown out. MiBR want to make sure that the CTs, should they be on the A site, they won't be drawing any resources from it. Keep the rotation split up because you know that the Deagles have strength in numbers. This is going to keep Lyngby Vikings second guessing, but I like how they're sticking to their decision. This might just work out for MiBR because they're falling in the same trap that we previously saw Lyngby Vikings fall into. Exit. Now that he's got the entry frag, all they've got to get across is a couple Deagles. Oh no, look at Lyngby Vikings, they're rotating.
Ooh, but are they?
Oh no.
They're cheeking us out. Or maybe they are. Actually, yeah.
So was MiBR.
Viking side going towards the B site. MiBR going towards B as well, but Yell able to put a bullet straight through Ral's head. Chrissy blocked out by the smoke, and Yell will be able to deal with him with a Mac 10 spraying down Manx. He might have joined the party, but it's already too late. The cake has been blown out. But Dafu as well will blow SHZ's head out of the server. As only 2 players remain from the Danish side. MiBR looks like they will be holding on to this game, although rotation seemed to be slightly dicey when it came to it. But I think they'll be happy to gain this lead after being in a deficit from Lyngby Vikings rejuvenation that previous half.
I like how Dafu and Max still want to maximize their chances at picking up the next round, so they'll stick to that Desert Eagle, not really going for any particular exit kills. But now Pavlos, you can see it on the scoreboard. It's 9-8, MiBR on the verge of double digits. This is getting a bit pressuring for Lyngby Vikings. Yes, they are on the more advantageous side, and the CT side could go their way, but seems like they're creeping onto the opponent's map pick. MiBR, they firmly cemented themselves as the victors as far as Mirage was concerned, but seems like they might be replicating that success on Inferno as well. On enemy grounds, but honestly, Inferno is almost always anybody's game because of how old this map is. It's very rare to see that a team isn't seasoned on it.
Nades. Ooh, they went for that logs cubby position, but no one was really hiding out. Potential, that was definitely there. Lyngby Vikings taking the gamble. It's these bread and butter plays that we saw MiBR approach earlier on, but it looks like they will try and greet them as soon as possible. Yeah, moving in first with that MAC-10, looking to take the front force of this damage. So many nades being brought out, but Exit takes the most damage out of that regard. Lyngby Vikings, they're lingering on the rotations, but slowly Daffel will make his way towards it. They're taking their time to get the push forwards, though, and this could give time for the Danish side to start to move in. But do they move in?
The smoke acts as a half one-way. Perhaps they don't check Rouse because they're anticipating him being in Cathedral, but that's not the case. Bolts, he's got on the opening frag, and they also know that Bird from Sky is lingering around the smoke. They're being very careful in how they check this out, but that's also allowing Lyngby Vikings some time to rotate. It's USPs and Eagles, though, so I don't expect this to work out particularly well for the CT side.
Ooh, they actually find 2 kills in the process. Yell goes around the roundabout. Christu is the only man sort of surviving with a MAC-10, as it does kill one of his opponents. No doubt, maybe to find a stray kill, but he's not lucky in that regard. And MiBR, they'll be hitting double digits. Is that strong enough of a buffer to keep their opponents at bay?
You mentioned, Pavlos, is it strong enough of a buffer? Lyngby Vikings, this next round is going to be incredibly important for them. Yes, of course, I mean, if it is the first gun round, it's going to be impactful, yes. But in the grand scheme of things, this can affect the entire outcome of the series. And this is exactly why they go for a timeout. You know that Lyngby Vikings want to make sure that everything flows smoothly. But if you want to make sure that your payments flow smoothly from account to account, you can go ahead and check out our partners over at Trustly. No cards, no registration, and no downloads.
Man, there's something about this graphic that makes me seem like there's something scientific going on, right? To be honest, you know, Lyngby Vikings, the chances of winning this game are hand in hand with how this next round comes through, because MiBR, this could be a big momentum spree that could run their way. So this buy round is really crucial for Lyngby Vikings' potential of taking this series home.
Lyngby Vikings early on, they commit 3 players to Banana, but that's just for the firepower. It's not like they've given up their utility. Dafu rotating on over to A. They only wanted to have the initial firepower in case MiBR wanted to go for a push, because you know that that's a team that loves playing it explosively. Lyngby Vikings, having cleared out Banana, this just gives them even more confidence in having their chips cashed in on the A site. But MiBR, it's not like they've gone for a play just yet. If the push from Banana comes through, it's not going to work too well in the favor of the Viking side. And now, with all 4 players committed, this is even more reason for MiBR to head on over to B.
It is, but the nades, the mollies, will keep them at bay at the starts. That 1 minute mark, MiBR have spent forces towards both sides of the map. Not quite finding the advantage. They're trying to lure out players on each side, but it's not quite successful yet. So now they're making their way into the deep ends of this car position. Christu, AWP at hand. He can't really afford to miss a shot here. He needs to put his team back on the radar, and I think he might have done just that. Cello goes for the swing. He wanted to put a piece of utility out, but no, he gets denied that prospect, and now the Lyngby Vikings side will have that 3rd player come in. But it looks like SHC has been spotted out. Chris immediately goes for a collateral play, but Yell finds 2 kills. The B side has been taken over. SHC not quite able to shut down Dafu as he was quick enough to the trigger, but the bomb goes down, and Lyngby Vikings have the numbers for the retake.
There's a lot of pressure on Yell to hold down Cathedral because Exit doesn't quite have the angle. Maybe even with his limited HP, he can make things work. The time is ticking down, so Lyngby Vikings, they're going to have to be a bit quicker, maybe miss some angles, and maybe Yell can just catch them off guard. Throwing off a flashbang, that works perfectly. They know the last player's position, and Bird from Sky will take it. Lyngby Vikings, a near-flawless retake.
That's exactly what they needed to get themselves back into the game. We saw the graph earlier, guys. Pinnacle knows exactly how things would work out for them. I guess Lyngby Vikings definitely know that they've got a stellar chance here. This game is definitely out of reach. Betting isn't out of reach for you guys if you consider Pinnacle as a place to go when it comes to this. And they also have an offer, as you saw on your screen previously. €10 bet on Esports gives you €10 in return by using the code CUP21 upon sign up. Lyngby Vikings, though, can they continue with this winning spree? Can they lie 2 rounds in a row? I think Christo will have a good say in the matter by getting himself that first kill.
And maybe that was the missing piece for Lyngby Vikings, because Christo wasn't turning up. And now that he is, now that the AWP is being put to good use, you can see MiBR starting to feel the pressure. A flashbang goes out from Boiler. That allows some mobility in Boiler. Or rather on Brackets. Not sure why I said Boiler twice. I think my brain is a bit fried today, but MiBR, they're still far from being fried in this series. Still have a long way to go for Lyngby Vikings before they can put the third map on the radar.
Christo, this could be really good. It's all a matter of timing. The utility will keep him at bay for the time being. They do cross towards Arch. Rolls, he backs out from it, and Yell will try and challenge him. But do they get the right timing? Rolls off angle for him, but Yell delivers headshot onto him, and now it's down to Bird from Sky towards the B side. Bolts holds his ground to do further damage onto the rotation. Staffu is able to hold his ground as well, but Bird from Sky, how does this work out? They want to go for a boost play. They're able to surprise him, jumping out through the smoke. There is nothing he can do about it. SHZ completely annihilates his opponent, and now it's down to 2v3, and I think Lyngby Vikings don't really fancy this retake.
Yeah, they already made the decision. It's not even like they entered Banana. No, not at all. Dafu simply wants to join Manx and make this attempt at holding onto the weapons a bit more reasonable. You can see that Rawls and Christo, they're starting to step into the big boy shoes, but it's mostly been Rawls. He's largely been the reason that Lyngby Vikings have been able to hold on for this long. But this is still becoming problematic, Pavlos, because Manx and Dafu, they're the only ones that will have guns in the next round. MiBR sliding their way to 11. They've also got a fair bit of bank to work with. The T-side economy, that's something you want if you want to chain together rounds, and this is exactly what MiBR are banking on. What's the economic decision they take here?
What is it? Seems like they do go for the full buy. It's risky.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because if MiBR end up winning the round, then Lyngby Vikings, in the majority of the late game, they won't have anything to work off of. But if this works out, that's the chance at stopping MiBR at 11, equalizing the numbers and making it much tougher for the T side. So both teams, their economy will be threatened, but more so for the Lyngby Viking side. Christo still putting that AWP to good use and narrowly avoiding the bullets that follow.
That's more like it from Christo. It seems like Inferno is his home ground. Mirage wasn't quite it, but now he's feeling it. It's not the first time he's been able to put his team into that numbers advantage position, but Rouse now he's being challenged. Nade coming through, lobbed into the arms of Yell. They know he's in that approximate position. Flash is perfect, but exit, he doesn't get affected by it. Christo now needs to reposition, try and put this site back in favor of his teammates, but I think MiBR have taken it over, and Lyngby Vikings, they want to go for this retake. Well, do they?
No, I don't think they do. I don't think they do with how the final 3 members are positioned. The thing is, they were anticipating Christo being able to make a mark, and if he could have done that, if he could have participated in from Cathedral, then perhaps we would see them go for the retake with that 4 versus 3 advantage. But because Christo is low, they know that there's absolutely no chance that they have. And where we talked about how Lyngby Vikings losing this round would entirely dismantle their economy, yada, 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 we forgot it was a bit of a false dichotomy, wasn't it? Because the third possibility Here's that Lyngby Vikings save their weapons, and they comfortably get to play another round. So this is the decision making that I really like from Lyngby Vikings. Not going for anything too aggressive. This gives them a shot at still knocking MiBR out. It's not over yet, but still have a long way to go.
Ooh, look at the odds as well. I think this is the most it's ever favored MiBR, at least from what I've seen so far.
Yeah, it has. Now, Pavlos, I want to mention that because they saved their weapons in the previous round, the round loss bonus from this one and the next one combined, it'll allow them to have yet another gun round in the next round. But if they lose both, then it's got to be over. I mean, it's late game, so it does make sense that throwing away a couple gun rounds will make the game go the way of MiBR.
Absolutely, and I think MiBR want to take advantage of that, so it's high stakes so far. Oh, I must be hungry, because as soon as I had said high stakes, it just had a steak come up in my mind. I'm like, ooh, what would I do for a juicy steak right now? But Manx wants a juicy kill. SSC is able to deliver, though. Bolts as well. 2 kills, freebies for MiBR. They don't take a single point of damage. Heading onto the A site now, and it's Baron as Dafu moves away from it.
Now, Lyngby are not going to go for this. They know that if they can save their weapons in this round, Dafu, Bird from Sky, Rawls, all 3 of them will have enough to drop for Christo and Mags. So time after time, it's not like they're chaining together rounds, but they are carving themselves out gun rounds. So that is a thread that they're holding on from, but I want to see how long-lived it's going to be. And MiBR, you can see their money building up, and so is the confidence. They are out for the hunt, potentially on the verge of taking away Rawls from the server, taking that M4 out of his hands, and the flashbang is perfect. Did they spot him, though, Rawls? His head has been visible. I think they know where the rest of the players are as well now.
Yeah, I think they have a good idea. Dafu definitely lets them know of that prospect. Hides away. Instead, he got the kill. I'm going to hide in the cathedral now. Bye.
Oh yeah, but everybody's chasing them down. This is a full commitment from the terrorist side. They want to make sure that the next round is ruined, and where I said that they would be able to chain together gun rounds, it is looking a bit bleak. Only Dafu gets away with his gun.
He gets 2 kills in the process. I think 3 in grand total, unless I didn't quite spot that out correctly.
Yeah, so their economy isn't actually ruined. They still get a chance at a couple gun rounds, so I'm not sure how they keep magically depositing money into their accounts. But
yeah, they didn't quite buy down to that 0 mark like they have just now. And also, I get it's the massive loss bonus from 3.4k.
The massive loss bonus and the constant saving and not buying down. I think it does eventually add up.
But it's still MiBR to win the round, though, so it's still a difficult endeavor. Yell down low initially as he challenged substantially. Christo getting a shot through, and it's usually these rounds that are translated into victories from the Lyngby Vikings side. Maybe that will be the case once more, because I'm sure they are eager to get themselves onto that 10th mark.
How do MiBR play this? It seems like most of their attention is going towards the B site, and this is a play that would work out for them because Lyngby, they've got most of their resources committed to A. Firing off a shot, though. There is some information being telegraphed. Now, you can see exactly why they're calling the rotations in.
Could be the right call, but does it come in soon enough? Rawls is taking his time on that rotation. Nades won't be victorious. No one hiding out in the angle, but the smoke will definitely be a difficult position to be in. Boost coming through, Bird from Sky. How can you make this work? Though you get spotted before you spot them. They have no idea. He's able to find one, backs out of it. They know there's 2 players in that position, but they're not able to cancel the defuse. The bomb plant, excuse me. 3v5 Lyngby Vikings. This is the best opportunity to go for a retake.
SSZ and Bolts, yes, they're incredibly low, so this allows them to move on in, but they've only got 1 HE. Everything else is just flashbangs. Now, this is where they move in. Can the AKs reign supreme? It seems like the eyes on the T side are entirely shut. SSZ wants to carve himself out of this, but no chance. Lyngby, they get away with 3 players and an additional round. At least they're on double digits now.
They are overwhelmed, actually. And the fact that MiBR went to kill Dafu that last round, they're starting to feel that pressure. You can see Yell down to 3.9k. Obviously, he can get a trot from his teammates. But it's not that easy for MiBR to keep buying up, you know? If Lyngby Vikings start squaring rounds up now, things can get tough for the Brazilians.
This is anyone's game at this point. Even Lyngby can break the economy of MiBR if they choose to do so, but by the time they do that, the loss bonus will have started building up. Lyngby, on the other hand, they've got a fair bit of pressure to work with. Cristo, his AWP needs to shine. We have seen some glimmers, but it needs to be bright. Not even like a diamond, maybe more like a flashlight or something.
Anything is better than nothing. And I think they know of this. MiBR making their way onto the site, and I think Lyngby Vikings, they've been locked out of it with 3 players on the other side of the smoke. Dafu, the flash is perfect! Oh dear! Although he's blind, he's able to find one. Retaliates on the second. Max and Rolls, they're holding down their ground. Lyngby Vikings weren't challenged at all.
That was such a good spray down from Dafu. I hope we can see that again, the way he's blinded. He still comes out on top. The AK spray down, near flawless. I think he even got some damage on the player behind the smoke. And MiBR, you can see why they're going for a timeout. It's getting a bit dicey for them. They were on the verge of closing it out 2-0, but it doesn't seem like it anymore now, does it, Pavlos?
No, it doesn't. This sort of reminds me of the previous map to the middle of it, where Lyngby Vikings started to show signs of madness. MiBR, they go for this timeout. Will it be as substantial as the previous one? Will it be the difference? I wonder. You can see they're tired. You can see they've had a long stay so far in Europe. But I'm sure they want to head out of it with a good note. I'm sure they don't want to be eliminated today from the Pinnacle Cup. They want to have another say in the matter.
Oh no, Cristo, he is starting to turn up the heat. At least MiBR had made the decision to not go for a full buy. This is a couple Tech 9, a Deagle, AK thrown in just for some pizzazz sort of round.
I think Cristo heard me. I was being quite judgmental over his lack of performance this past week. And he stepped it up completely. So many times he's been the man to get most of it, to get that starting kill for his team. And it's been a massive difference maker.
The AWP player, the game heavily hinges on him. He is putting up the performance now, but for how long? Can he sustainably power Lyngby Vikings through to map number 3? Those are some terrible nades. Bird from Sky and Rels. They're quite low on HP and within one-shot category for the pistols, the Tech 9s.
Lovely flashes coming out, but from Sky will greet them. Smoke coming through. Spray down coming out as well. MiBR, can they find anything? They're being pressured. Rotations coming through from Manx as well, but they're not finding any kills. SAC shows his mark. AK at hand, does deliver. But they're being battered down. Bomb will get planted, potentially. Manx goes for the spray down. Doesn't find any damage. Maybe a little bit. Smoke will buy some time. Exit. What a shot now. Keeps his team in the game. It's not over for MiBR yet, is it? Not at all. Exit. How will he play this? AK at hand. Gives out an audio cue. But he buys time.
Oh, that's the AWP though.
Ooh, that's it, isn't it?
Yeah, Cristo had to be the final nail in the coffin. Even if they didn't immediately pick up the first kill, Cristo would have been there in time, so Mad props for Lyngby Vikings for keeping their head in the game, even when it seems like everything is going against them. And this is where they finally have some control over their money. Their loss bonus might be dwindling, but at least they've got a lot of money in reserve. And you can see the series predictions, or rather the map winner predictions, just going haywire. Nobody entirely certain as to who would win out this map, and it shouldn't be the case because, of course, this is a very neck-and-neck game. I am seeing the ticks, I am seeing no movement from the CT side, so we know that it's a technical pause.
Absolutely, and hopefully it does get resolved quickly. I trust that it will be resolved quickly. And talking about trust, Trustly is the place to go when it comes to online transactions. They've got some easy, quick, and safe. It's basically an easy, quick, and safe way for you to do your transactions when it comes to online. It doesn't, you don't really need any app, no card, no registration. It's all a quick endeavor. And you can even use it over onto pinnacle.com/odds, where you can also bet on this match, Lyngby Vikings versus MiBR, with all the odds you've seen on your screen so far. Of course, there are some terms and conditions that do apply, so do check those out as well. And also make sure you are being safe when betting is at hand. But it's a close endeavor, and the technical pause have just been ticked off. So MiBR may be in the lead, but this buy round from them may dictate the outcome of this entire series.
They want to play this very explosively, moving straight on over to the B site, but Burr from Sky is having none of it. Yell, eliminated from the server, and that's a very early advantage for Lyngby.
It is indeed. And now, how does MiBR try and bring things back? They do pressure Banana. The Lyngby Vikings looking to double up on that prospect as well, both putting themselves deeply behind sandbags. Smoke out as well, just to pick up that AK. I love that attention to detail.
That might also be the audio cue that makes MiBR a bit more scared for their lives here. A flashbang to get themselves into Banana. Nobody can flash them in, so this is going to be a double duel that they have to take the old-fashioned way. Cello, his arm's been spotted, and because there are two players around the corner, it'll be very tough for the T's to move in. It's just Burr from Sky. He's got enough 4K, and that just leaves Bolts all to his lonesome. No bomb, nothing. MiBR. We might just be seeing map number 3, Pavlos.
Oh yeah, we might. MiBR, they're hurting. Lyngby Vikings looking to get back. 13-13, the equaler has been found. MiBR, that is another timeout coming from these guys. I am not surprised at all. They're hurting. No money. Clustering in rounds. Battered down on Banana. It seemed like they were peaking one by one there. They just need to focus. They just need to collect 3 rounds, but they're bound to lose one more, seeing that they've only got pistols to work with.
Yeah, well, they took a timeout, and it seems like it was to ponder the decisions of the economy. Have Tech-9s across the board. Cello will be the only man that doesn't have too much. At least they buy into a significant bit of utility. They're hoping that they can outstrat their opponents, even if they can't outgun them. This is so close, Pavlos. We knew that this was going to be a bit of a back-and-forth fight. But maybe we expected it to be a bit more in the favor of Lyngby Vikings. It's not the case. MiBR, they've been putting up the pressure, but Lyngby Vikings, maybe they're hurt by the fact that we called it a fake comeback in the previous round. They want to give us a real one. Look at this rotation from Lyngby Vikings. The way they're putting all of their resources on A, there's no way this goes well for MiBR, does it?
The odds of it is unlikely. We've seen pistol rounds go their way, but it's mostly been D-Walls. But now on the offensive, the Tech-9s is going to have to be an aggressive push. Lyngby Vikings, this is an orthodox for them, but it's just exactly what they need. It's what they require. Spray down, it's simple. That's what they needed. They could close things out. SSC puts a dent into the lineup of Lyngby Vikings, but I'm sure they'd be looking for something greater. Bullet connects onto the Dafu's head, and now still 2 kills go to the side of MiBR. They need to be careful, though, as there is a sneaky Rouse moving across Banana, but look at their movement, making their way towards Arch and Library. Hello, this could be the B-side take for them, but they need to be careful because Rouse, he's in Banana, and he would be quick on his feet if it came to that side take.
It seems like Rouse isn't even contesting it because he knows that he doesn't want to give up the weapon. There have been no collections of the weapons that have been dropped, and Lyngby Vikings just want to play the numbers. They want to play the gun advantage. This is where they start to move in. The Molotov makes sure that SFZ will be knocked out of position, but the gun was not out. Cello and Yell, now they have to try to stick to it. The Tech 9 reigns supreme. Yell and Cello, they might just have the advantage here because they've got the information. They know exactly where the CTs are coming in from, but they don't have information on the second banana player. Do the speed of 50 and Tech 9 combo work out? There's the headshot. Maybe there's another one. Can Rouse find two? He's isolated one. Taps the bomb. Wants the Tech 9 to peek out. And he's almost found it. Not quite. The Tech 9 is still being a menace. That's not enough time. That's the Tech 9's working out. MiBR, you might have just done it. Rawls doesn't have enough bullets to keep it going.
MiBR and pistol rounds. Name a more iconic duo.
I can't. Other than X-Deity.
Fair.
But I mean, their pistol rounds are a close. Yeah, their pistol rounds are a close second.
Man, though, that is going to be the time up for MI. They get themselves a victory. That was crucial. They lose 2 players from the start as well. From a 3v5 with only Tech 9s and P250s. MiBR, are you here to give me heart troubles? Because my BPM went up by a mile.
Absolute stunner of a round as far as pistols are concerned. Don't see that too often at all.
That could have been Lyngby Vikings' leeway to success. That could have been them in the lead now. That could have been snatching this game back. You called it before. This is Lyngby Vikings potentially taking it to map number 3, but no, they're holding on. It's not over yet.
There isn't even enough money on the Lyngby Viking side, so the next round would be a disaster if they can't pick this one up. Lots of economic damage, or rather utility damage that the T's have built up. Rawls knows there's a player in the corner, but he's burning up, he's hurting, he's taking damage. The entire CT side on the B site, they are significantly damaged, but Christo wants to keep the numbers alive. He doesn't care if the HP is missing as long as the players are alive.
MiBR, what do you do? You've got weapons to work with, but it just feels that their chances of closing up this round are near to nothing. Dafu, Rolls, they could quickly get shut down, but from Sky 2. But it's just a matter of finding him, isn't it?
Yeah, if only the T side had any nades in reserve, it would change everything. But Dafu and Manx, their setup is so perfect that I see no future where MiBR can get onto the bomb site without dying.
Spotted heads connect from Manx and Dafu. Lyngby Vikings there looking strong. They've managed to keep all their weapons at play as well. Cello, what do you do, man? What on earth do you do? Pre-fire into Dafu there, that could quickly close his life. No, doesn't go for it. Oh dear. 14 to 14. We'll be up to square standpoint again. And MiBR, what on earth do they do? Because their money isn't looking great. How,
yeah, Cello is even saving his AK because that might just be their last saving grace.
Oh dear,
if he can keep his hands on it, Cello.
Ooh.
He's being sniffed out with only 2 seconds remaining. Perhaps he, never mind. He gets away with his life. So at least that's a sigh of relief on the MiBR squad.
Is it enough though?
Probably not.
Doesn't seem like it, does it? It feels like they're gonna allow their opponents to get onto overtime and to try and contest that. Get themselves onto that map point and contest for overtime.
The fight for overtime has already begun, even if we don't see a single team on map point just yet. I love how Lyngby Vikings wanted to take initiative, even though they have the weaponry advantage. Second mid being cleared out, MiBR, they are feeling the pressure. They've brought it so close. They had the advantage. They were starting to steamroll on the CT side, or rather the T side. But Lyngby Vikings, they have something else to say about it.
Seems like they do. There's also a server disconnect from the MiBR side. The Vikings, they're in a good spot here. They're going for that hero AK-47 play, but how much of a hero can Cello be? Boost out. Yell. We won't be spotting out anyone. Lyngby Vikings, they know they can play safe. They know they don't. There's no need to contest. Crystal having this lineup. It hurts if you're an MiBR fan at this point, because Tristu is just going to put bullets right through you. Cello, does he save his AK? What does he do? Seems like he's going to go for it. He wants to put the dent into his opponent's economy, but it's not going to work out. Is it? Oh dear, Cristu misses out on the shot. That's going to be one kill going his way, but it's Bird from Sky from a different angle to close his life. Lyngby Vikings, they are now on map point and on the verge of taking us to Vertigo.
MiBR looked like they would potentially close it out. The odds showed it. The eye test did. We saw how close they had gotten. Lyngby, with the amount of mistakes we saw coming out, with Cristo not stepping up, with some strategies not being in order, perhaps MiBR was destined to win this, but Cristo's sudden resurgence on the server could be exactly what the doctor ordered. And he wants to go for a little bit more. He wants to stop it. He doesn't want to take it to overtime. And if Lyngby Vikings can put up the performance that they've grown accustomed to now on Inferno, I do think MiBR will be shut down before they can take this game the distance.
Little did MiBR know, for a few seconds there, the B site was open for the taking. Of course, they don't have eyes on that site, so that there was no way of them knowing that prospect. The Vikings sort of going for a gamble towards the A site, and MiBR, they want to sniff this out. They've been known for collectively and calmly trying to traverse through the map. Maybe Vikings, they haven't been given them too many avenues to sort of approach that. A lot of utility being expended now, and that's pushed towards mid. Max forced out into the open where, well, Yell will be able to shoot down from. But Rouse emerges through the smoke. That could be more than one kill. That is two. Cristu also chimes in. It's down to 2v3. Lyngby Vikings just 2 kills away of closing things out here, taking it to Vertigo. Smoke works out. They know where he is now. How does he work around this? 19th thrown, 30 seconds. MiBR, what do you do with this? Considering the B rotation, but Bird from Sky could also be quick on his feet in that regard. No, they've made the decision. They're heading towards when it's going to be.
Bird from Sky needs to be the man that intercepts this. They've got a smoke to cross on CT, so that needs to be thrown out immediately. The bomb needs to go down as fast as it can, but there's a gap in the smoke. They're not challenging it at all. The 2v3 might just come their way. Bird from Sky, he's taken quite a few hits. This is MiBR's chance. This is a totally doable 2 versus 3, and Bosa's just made it a lot more palatable. Moving into Cathedral, the 2-man double down on CT. Can Lyngby Vikings still take this?
Can they? I'm not quite sure for us. Bird from Sky, he's low. Exit, he's got the right lineup. 1 kill. And now it means that only Daft was by himself. Sit down to a 1-on-1. Can he clutch things up for his team? Can he take it to Vertigo? Bolt isn't really going to give him that situation at hand that easily. Touches the bomb. Doesn't even know where he is. Speaks out. He's not defusing it. We're not going to see Lyngby Vikings taking things to Vertigo just yet. We're going to be seeing overtime.
There was barely any time remaining. Raw's got 2 very important kills. It had to be over. But MiBR, maybe the MI in their name stands for miracle. I want to see what this replay is about. Yeah, this is such an important situation for Rouse to come out on top with, but at the end of the day, it is 1 kill short of making it convincing enough that MiBR can be stopped. And we saw this coming, Pavlos. Because of how back and forth this game was, even reflected in the statistics that we see here in the series comparison chart, it's pretty obvious that this game was going to go the distance. Maybe something like a 16-13 would have been more anticipated, but we're going to see overtime. We're going to see a lot more of where this came from.
Oh, it's back and forth.
We are going to be seeing 16K, though.
For us, I think the question is, whether MiBR can line up more than a couple of rounds in a row, right? Because on the second half, they sort of struggled to find that. And as you can see on the ticker, MiBR requires some restarts when it comes to their computers. I believe earlier there was a timeout, and that was of bolts for that. But due to the fact that he timed out, since already some kills have commenced during that round, no restarts of that round was going to be commenced. But I'm sure MiBR will want all their equipment to be working in the correct fashion for them to close this map out.
This is a strange time for a PC restart to come through because, of course, this is there's a lot weighing on both teams. You're on to that 15-15. My problem here is that I expect a lot more longevity on a map like Inferno from MiBR when they have all of that money. Inferno's one of those maps where if you go to overtime, the utility and the fact that the AWPs are free pickings for the CT side, you can just buy up as much as you'd like, it becomes very hard for the terror side. And MiBR are going to be receiving the short end of the stick. They will have to play the orange side, they'll have to play the terror side. And I want to see if they can sustainably get through it long enough with enough rounds that they'll be able to make a dent on the CT side. Lyngby, on the other hand, honestly, I know that they should have been able to close it out, but at the same time, this was a comeback from them to begin with. So for them, for them to allow themselves the comfort, the privilege of potentially taking it to map number 3, that is already a valiant effort in my book.
Absolutely, but I'm sure they're looking something greater than a valiant effort, right? They're looking for the victory, because a loss in this tournament is elimination from it entirely. They've already got 2 losses on the Swiss stage. They cannot afford a third. That's simply the case. And both of these teams coming into this one, they wanted to show that they have a chance to move into the playoffs and compete for the entire tournament. But one of them, after this match, will be heading home. I'm sure neither of them would want that to be them.
This is such a back and forth game, and honestly, I don't feel like anyone could predict Inferno. But if you do feel like you have an awesome feel for the game, if you have the nads to bet on something that is as close as this affair, something like Inferno for MiBR and Lyngby Vikings, you can go ahead and check out pinnacle.com/odds. They've got a really nice offer going right now. If you bet 10 euros, you get 10 euros back. But make sure you gamble responsibly, and terms and conditions do apply. So do go ahead and check them out. Use code CUP21 upon sign up if you're a first-time customer.
It's a weird one for us. It really is. MiBR, they've struggled to sort of staple themselves ahead, really, to be the team in command. Lyngby Vikings have been challenging them at every step of the way, even at the start from Mirage, where MiBR had quite a substantial advantage. Lyngby Vikings, they were on hot pursuit. But all players locked and loaded now on the serve, I imagine, will be starting soon. Some sort of pep talk being brought out in the barracks of MiBR. Lyngby Vikings have already had theirs. I assume everybody is trying to be calm and collected. Bring their A game. This overtime can decide so much. MiBR, they could get themselves a 2-0 victory to close things out. Give themselves one more win, go 2-2 in the Swiss stage, and have another living chance to qualify to the playoffs. Lyngby Vikings can bring things to a close in Inferno and take us to Vertigo for a third map to ensue. Who will win it? It's anyone's guess. You can also make your guesses over at Pinnacle. But for now, we're just going to have to wait and see.
I do think all players have connected now on the server, and you can see the ticks going in. You can see the right clicks on the Glock, so I'm pretty sure we should be heading straight into the game as the HUD appears on your monitors now.
Any second now.
Any second. Yeah, yep. There we go.
Ooh.
Okay,
there, ladies and
overtime, huh,
gentlemen.
Pavlos?
Let's do it. Gonna be guns. And I have no idea who'll be running away with this one.
Oh no, Bolt's already taking a bit of damage from a teammate. That is unfortunate. That does put him within one headshot range of the M4, so that could actually be impactful. Lots of nades flying out from the Lyngby Vikings squad. That's MiBR putting Bolts down to 9 points of health. Information being conveyed as well because Yell has been too hot on the trigger. The Molotovs making sure that he has to back off, scurry away. And Lyngby Vikings have so much control of Banana. The nades not connecting to fruition. Not really able to do too much of a scratch. Lyngby still want to keep 3 players there because they know that MiBR are hot to contest this.
MiBR on the T-side Inferno. It's the weakest we've seen them when it comes to the terrorist side, but it looks like Lyngby Vikings will quickly try and challenge. Both from Sky! Warlock to put Lyngby Vikings now up on the lead. 16-15 is likely to be the scoreline because I don't see HHZ and Bolts bringing out madness like Bud. That was insane. 3 kills just like that, and Lyngby Vikings are in a prime position to close this round out.
That was just individual brilliance from Burr from Sky. A quick tap on the head on logs, 2-man spray down, all in a day's work. Makes it look like clockwork. And so does Christo. As the kill does feed himself to him. Max doesn't quite cast a player on the apartments, but honestly, this doesn't impact Lyngby Vikings at all. When you're in the overtime, there's no worries about losing a player here or there.
Always money, always honey. Lyngby Vikings will definitely like that, but from Sky to get the flash to through, beautifully done. Can they continue though? MiBR, they mustn't be hurt by this if they want to have a chance to close things out here.
Christo. Oh no, that aggression doesn't pay off this time. He's generally been so successful at putting second mid down under lock and key, but this is the one thing he falters at. And this is not a great time to do it, because it's overtime. Every round matters so much. If the T side can get away with one more, with just one round, I think they can start to feel a bit comfortable. But now they're heading on over to the B bomb site. At least they don't have info that Lyngby Vikings have left it wide open, so that gives them time to recover, allows Rawls to reposition, and for a second set of reinforcement to start chiming in.
Oh, but actually gonna go far. This push Rawls completely gets flushed down, and now Bird for Sky with the smoke looking to do damage. That doesn't quite get spotted out in time, but X is able to shut him down onto the site as Max is able to get himself quickly on pursuit. Lining shots through the smoke, but the bomb does go down. 2v4 as Lyngby Vikings are desperate to get themselves any sort of situation as a victory here. SHZ holding down his ground, though. The chances of Lyngby Vikings coming out victorious now are completely nullified. MiBR, they bring things straight back around to find the equalizer.
Yeah, Dafu doesn't do anything here. He knows it's overtime, so it's a good chance to play deathmatch. Gets one in the process, but dies just as quickly as he would get shot down by someone random on a deathmatch server. 16-16. This is very worrying for Lyngby Vikings because you want to have as much control on the CT side. I've mentioned this before, especially on something like Inferno, where utility and not having AWPs is the one thing that keeps the CTs at bay. You can't allow MiBR to get on that CT side and feel comfortable with digging into that $16,000 mark. The early aggression from Lyngby to try to take Banana, but the smoke, the offensive smoke from MiBR also allows them to have a fair bit of info. So, a bit of a stalemate as far as Lyngby Vikings and MiBR are concerned. Nobody's going to be getting Banana early on. It's just Christo that still gets to peek on forward. I actually didn't notice that. Didn't quite notice that he stepped up on top of the wall. That boost might just net him a free kill.
Smoke settles back in though, makes the chances ever so difficult. Flash out as well as they do look to challenge Christo. Does they get spotted? That's an off. Dale first shows his way as he backs from it. MiBR at a numbers disadvantage, but they look like they want to keep.
Yeah, but the AWP player has been caught out. Rawls desperately trying to keep them at bay by using a smoke. The flashbang isn't successful, and that gives Rawls a bit of breathing room. Reinforcements, they're arriving, but can they do that just in time? Molotov, once again, has to make Rawls reposition. A 3v4 as they try to keep the CTs at bay. The Ts have the positional advantage. Lyngby Vikings with the numbers. Who wins out these duels? Two players watching the same angle, watching Cathedral, but Burr from Sky, he's been left undetected as he peeks out through the smoke. The flashbang is perfect, but so is the weaponry from Lyngby Vikings.
Well, Lyngby Vikings, they've stapled themselves ahead at least for the first half of overtime. Hasn't been many times that the Danes have found themselves in such a situation. MiBR, they need to play catch-up. It's literally still anyone's game because Lyngby Vikings have a chance to close things out in a 2-0 fashion, getting 2 rounds. That's what I meant by a 2-0 fashion. Getting 2 rounds in an overtime now will get themselves a victory. But MiBR, if they don't fall a single time, getting all 3 rounds of this next half will potentially give them the victory.
It's quite hard to do that, though, isn't it?
Absolutely.
And honestly, this game is definitely one of the contenders for double overtime. I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to, but now that I've said it, with my 0% prediction win rate, it's probably not going to be the case. But let's see if MiBR can put that money to good use. It's Yell on the AWP, the in-game leader. The all-seeing eye. His 3-man setup from the CT side should favor them as the brackets push comes in. Oh, did Yell spot one?
Ooh, smoke out. Bad timing does favor Lyngby Vikings. The nade as well. This could be Lyngby Vikings on the brink of closing things out. Likely to be the 18th if they win across the board onto the A site. Missed timing from MiBR on multiple fronts. The Danes must be smiling comfortably right now. MiBR, they should be scratching their heads, maybe even shaking, because they're on the brink of losing a map. Vertigo could be up next. Lyngby Vikings after this will only require 1 singular round.
I'm not even sure why MiBR don't go for it. Like, I mean, they have all the money in the world, so there's absolutely no reason for saving. It's not even like Lyngby Vikings would get much of an advantage from it. Or any advantage at all. Let's see, MiBR, they've got to chain a couple rounds in a row. They had 1 on the T side. Bringing it to 2 would allow them to take it to double overtime. So we might just be seeing a lot more action where that came from. The AWP still firmly in the hands of Yell. As MiBR look to aggress with 3 players. Christo knocked back courtesy of the Molotov, but he still has the awareness, the micro precision to go for the headshot with the AWP around the wall.
And now how is it approached? MiBR, they're not quite reading this play. A site. MiBR, this could be where they lose. This is where Vertigo could come into play as Lyngby Vikings look to trickle on forwards exit. He's got the good read. Has he got the right lineup? Don't spray down. Rawls trays through, but the missed shot! Oh dear! And that could be it. Lyngby Vikings finding themselves onto the site. MiBR, the 2 remaining players, they've got a really big job to do. Let's see if they can close things out. Molly still left. That's going to delay them. That's going to put a lot of pressure onto them. Molly'd nade out as well. But from Sky, looking at the challenge, putting damage onto him, not giving them the space to breathe. That's how you try and suffocate them. Pushing through. They line up for Cello, and now it's down to 1 and 2. They could get themselves into the game. Dafu holding things out. 1 kill going to his name. Damaged substantially. Cello looking for that final blow, and he's found it. Deagle drawn out. MiBR, they're still in it, and he's got time to get the defuse on as well.
I'm not even sure how Lyngby Vikings can drop that round after their post-plant utility was perfect. They had a Molotov on the short side of brackets. They had it close to the bomb site. They had one under shelter. SSZ could barely move, and they even threw a nade for that one spot that he was stuck in. Great little lineup from Cello. And MiBR now, they only need one more round to bring themselves to double overtime. Lyngby Vikings, they desperately want to stop this. How do MiBR play this? Early Molotov keeps them at bay, makes sure that they can't creep on car, but the smoke also denies a fair bit of info for Lyngby. Not the case, as Burr from Sky, he seems to have crept forward. The mollies, the smokes, in the midst of all the chaos, Cello's managed to find a kill, and he even chases Burr from Sky down with a few bullets. MiBR, they have the advantage in this round. Lots of info, lots of bullets, and the numerical advantage.
That's the change of pace definitely for the MiBR side, but Max looks to challenge things here. They wants to change things up. Smoke will fade out, and I think Cello might be caught out here. Not quite in time. Sprays down. Ooh, Manx down to half. Now that's a surprising outcome. Smoke out again as Lyngby Vikings look to approach. All players onto the B site. Cello, can he hold things down? A lot of damage to the Bird from Sky, but he's still able to come out victorious. Only one player holding out to the B site, but he's a little bit too far out of it. Bolts has to spray down through the smoke. Lyngby Vikings, it's a clear avenue towards the B bomb site, and there's no one there to stop them. 50 seconds, and MiBR need to go for the 4v4 retake.
Both teams feeling the pressure because it's either double overtime or Lyngby take it. MiBR, this retake needs to be flawless, and they only have one flashbang to work with. As they throw their own out, Lyngby will respond with some utility of their own. 2 from Cathedral, and 1 from CT. Make that 3, Manx. Now, there's a lot of distraction coming his way because he's making it a menace from Hobbit. Yell still wants to keep it competitive, but because Dafu is not revealing his cards, it's a near impossible retake for MiBR, and that is going to be it, ladies and gentlemen. The Lyngby Vikings get away with map number 2, and we are going to Vertigo.
We're back once more, ladies and gentlemen. Lyngby Vikings versus MiBR in the third and final map of this series. Third and final map, actually, of the day as well. As the ninth round does commence, we will be seeing which team will start things off where, as they are now 1-1 in the scoreline when it comes to maps.
Also 1-1 as far as the knife is concerned, but Rawls will quickly be taking care of that. So the Danes, they get to choose their own side, of course. When it is the decider map, it's decided by a knife round. Now, man, Pavlos, what a back and forth affair it has been so far. For Mirage to be that close on a little comeback that Lyngby Vikings almost had. For MiBR to lose their grip on Inferno and allow an actual comeback. And now, we're looking at it go the distance. 3 sets of Kevlar from the CT side. A couple pieces of utility on Burr from Sky and Manx. So CT side, it's not like they're entirely relying on those aim duels working out for them. MiBR, very same scenario, and they're heading to A.
Heading directly onto the A site, Yell firstly the charge, and the odds were reminiscent of how they seemed at the start of this game, at the start of the series, where Lyngby Vikings are slightly favoured. MiBR slow on their approach. Also now a few pieces of utility to be starting their push through routes. is very low. Receives a bullet to the head, but Yels quickly on the site as well, makes his way onto it, gives some space towards his team, but they do bamboozle them completely. They want to head towards the B bomb site, and MiBR, they'll find it completely barren.
Let's see if Lyngby Vikings can claw their way back into this, though. It is a 5-on-5 retake. The pistol round is going to be madness. Exit, he's made it very expensive by getting 2 kills and some spare change in the process. Rawls doesn't get too much of a say here, as Exit's the only man that gets taken down on MiBR. Solid start to Vertigo.
Absolutely stellar starts for MiBR as they get themselves the initial round, starting things off, but at the same time, it all came down to that first little fake, right? The fact that there were stellar movements towards the A site. The smokes were dedicated towards it as well. The movement from Yao onto the site really made the Lyngby Vikings think that the A site was where they were heading towards. But no. Instead, the plan was to move towards the bomb site instead. That's where everything unfolded, solidifying themselves at that start. Seems like MiBR is the team that starts things off ahead, is the team to be at the front foot of every single one of these maps. But Lyngby Vikings, the fact that they've been able to, every single time, sooner than the last time, are able to bounce back. Maybe that is where MiBR will fall victims to a loss. Maybe that's where Lyngby Vikings can square things up quickly enough before MiBR are able to get out of reach.
Lyngby Vikings, maybe Rawls can stay undetected for long enough that it becomes a backstab, and it does, but only for SIC, as I don't think Rawls realized that there's a second player that can take care of them. But in the meantime, the real broth is being cooked up here on the B site. Exit quickly dispatched Dafu, so that should be MiBR comfortably picking up the round. Where from Sky and Rawls, though, perhaps they want to go for a save here, but bolts won't really make that too easy of an affair. As I say that, that's a Desert Eagle to knock him off of the server. Seems like MiBR want to keep going for this. They don't want this AK. The bird has been able to salvage to fall into the wrong hands. Surprisingly enough, MiBR have had strong starts on all 3 maps. Closing out Inferno, however, that was not their cup of tea at all.
Definitely seems like it wasn't. Did end up being a close endeavor, but it always felt like Lyngby Vikings were the team to get that game under wraps. But let's have a look at the Pinnacle odds. MiBR actually now favored. So you can see that this game, this series, is decided on a knife's edge. It's really anyone's game. But MiBR starting things strongly. They will, I guess, have a leeway when it comes to the round score. And I wonder for us, what do you reckon is the potential here? Seeing the first 2 maps, which team seems to be favourite? Coming into this round, I know Lyngby Vikings don't have too much of an economy to work around with, therefore MiBR are likely to get themselves that 3-0. But in the grand scheme of things, do you think that Lyngby Vikings have a chance to sort of square things up, maybe even come out on top?
There's honestly no deciding who's going to win out this game at the moment, because of course, being the first 2 rounds and MiBR being the winners of the pistol round, they have that nice little leeway onto 3 free rounds, but that doesn't quite tell us the full story, does it? It's about those gun rounds. We haven't quite gotten to the meat and potatoes of the game just yet, and it is a decider round, or the decider map, for a good reason. I do expect it to be a back and forth affair regardless, but for now, MiBR will make it seem largely uncompetitive. The bomb making its way over towards the A site. Lyngby Vikings have to go for a buy in the next round anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised if they maybe try to go for a couple exits. Try to be a menace. But overall, we can expect it to be a relatively slow affair as far as the round is concerned. The saves often being very viable in Vertigo as well. Many corners to check. Lyngby Vikings, they often looked like they relied on Christo's ability to find kills with the AWP, and the lack of those kills was also a big reason why they didn't have much of an impact on Mirage. So once again, the win condition for Lyngby would be for all of their numbers to start chiming in. Hasn't quite made a dent just yet, but he will soon. I would hope so if Lyngby want to put up a performance.
All right, well, this is where the Danes can start coming back. Let's see if that actually becomes the case. Back and forth so far, the series, hasn't it? Ooh, I like this. Straight out of the bat, 4th round in. Yell breaks his ankles, but it comes out victorious with a kill instead. MiBR, let's see if he can push through. Dafu trying to hold down his line, but he's going to be challenged from multiple directions. Swings out, Yell does have to fall, but in the process, draws out the smoke. I think he spotted out the player to his left. He has. Tries to line in some shots onto the entry, but he ends up falling, and Bird from the Sky has to deal with this onslaught all by himself until the rotations can arrive.
Yeah, Bird, he's going to have a lot to take care of all to his lonesome now. His position's been given away, and I don't think he knows exactly where exit is. In the meantime, while the reinforcements are arriving, MiBR want to head on over to A instead. Just leave exit as the man that will keep Bird from Sky away from the rotations, but this is where the information must be given up. Christo coming up with the AWP. He hasn't quite peaked. He's allowing the T's to make a mistake, but they will not. Ace and Z's aim is on point. It's just Rawls remaining on the ace side to potentially equalize the numbers. Let's see if he's granted the opportunity to do so.
Bird from Sky causing pressure. Bolts completely dismantles Rawls. I think Bird from Sky realizes that his chances of taking this round home are slim. Therefore backs out of it. Saves that beautiful M4 and takes it home. MiBR, they start things well. For us, it makes me think that this is reminiscent of the previous 2 maps where MiBR always seemed to be coming out on top at the start. How long do you reckon that Lyngby Vikings need to bounce back? Because really, I'm not convinced that MiBR can have a solid performance without, at some point, falling victims to some mistakes, right? Because they've shown it time and time again that they may have a good advantage, but at some point they give way, and Lyngby Vikings always are able to capitalize on it.
I do like the fact that you mentioned Lyngby Vikings' ability to immediately bring it back. And the reason for that is it's not like MiBR, just because they've gotten a strong start on the previous 2 maps, they've been able to keep it sustainable. No, not at all. In fact, on Inferno, they showed a chink in their armor within the first half. They got off to a strong 5-0 start or something along those lines, and they closed out the half 8-7. So good showing from Lyngby Vikings, but they're going to have to do a lot more. Apparently not going to be this round, because Yell has already taken things by the horns. Dafu, perhaps this pocket AK-47 can be put to good use, but I wouldn't quite bet on it, as Yell uses a supportive flashbang to come out on top. The CZ now, the movement inaccuracy doesn't quite favor it.
Yeah, especially when you don't have too many bullets remaining. Doesn't quite help out. But Christo, ooh, look at the wraparound. Could be huge. Gets one. Within the realms of possibility now for the Danish side. Manx slides out to the side of this box, get an alternative angle, but Bolts, haha! Well, think again, because he's the king of the castle, jumps right on top of the boxes. And MiBR are back in the lead. Christo, he's going to give it a go, isn't he? I have a feeling that he wants to go for it, but in order for him to do so, I think he needs that first initial pick, and without it, it becomes a difficult endeavor.
Yeah, Christo has to save the sniper for sure. I would personally want to see Christo take a bit more initiative around the ramp area, because MiBR have been consistently able to contest it, not have too much of a response come out from Lyngby Vikings. It's not like he's not chiming in now. I mean, he did put a kill on the board, but it isn't quite enough. He got it on the flank, so 0 impact so far. And with already 5 rounds being a landslide for MiBR, I'm starting to think maybe this is too much leeway being given up. At the very least, I do like how MiBR is playing this. This isn't just a case of these individuals shining. They're able to outplay Lyngby Vikings on a macro level as well, constantly having some attention on B. Manx, nice awareness to spot out the run boost. Yell will not be allowed to be up to his shenanigans at all.
That doesn't happen very frequently. Killing a player before the boost has sort of come underway in the middle of the air. MiBR at a numbers deficit from the get-go. Lyngby Vikings double ult setup, so far so good for them. Well, it's still early days of this round. Boost out. Mid control from MiBR, at least what they're looking to get themselves some space. Slight movement, but at the same time, rotations are in order. I'm heading towards that direction as well as one towards the A ramp. Likely do some noise, but no, Cello does get shut down instantly. But the B site will ensue, and Manx, he's holding it down, and he's got reinforcements as well. Dafu together, they're holding things down. They're not going to allow Lyngby Vikings, we're not going to allow MiBR to push through this any time of this week. Utility be thrown out, MiBR desperately trying to find some kills here, but there's just so much util that allows their opponents to hide through it. Bolts eventually finds the finishing blow onto Dafu, but Bird from Sky gets up close and personal towards that smoke. Bolts looking to move out of it, being spotted out, simple spray down, bomb now dropped, and SHC, there's really not much this guy can do. Look at that, 3 players looking in that direction, make that 4 now. He's going to back out. Poor lad lost all his teammates, and now we'll just try and make that AK-47 his friend and keep it for the next round, as the rest of them try to chase after them. But no, Lyngby Vikings, they put themselves on the board.
Yeah, this is deja vu, and if history is meant to repeat itself, then perhaps we now see Lyngby Vikings get a second round with the bomb being planted in the last 4 seconds and a few deagle kills going their way left and right. You know, just the usual stuff. But maybe MiBR want to carve out a different path for themselves, carve out a different future. No longer fall to the destiny that Lyngby Vikings is trying to lay out for them. Yep. Initial aggression on ramp, a flashbang to get himself forward as well. Burr from Sky, he's got to retreat because there's no chance he get a comfortable angle in this instance. Rawls desperately spraying through the smoke as they climb up scaffolding. He's given up his position, and so has Burr from Sky, but there are 3 players on the Lyngby Vikings squad that are protecting the A-bomb site.
Cello here to get himself an advantage over towards scaffolding. A lot of nades being thrown in that direction, meaning that Cello can't quite aggress so far. But from Sky, audio cube being given out. Instead of going for an aggressive swing, instead goes for the peak. Raoul will go for the peak as well. Flash. Smoke stopped in its tracks. Although we've hit the 1 minute mark and MiBR haven't aggressed so far. I imagine a boost may come through though from them. It's being hinted. But instead, no, they double up towards scaffolding. That's an interesting attempt. Although some utility being thrown off to the B bomb site may want to lure Lyngby Vikings in. Get them to move out of that position. But I think this double up towards scaffolding is the best sort of ideal for Lyngby Viking situation, because if one player from MiBR peeks it, they will be a dead person.
Ooh. The nade narrowly avoids Rawls, and now he wants to aggress forward. They're not expecting it at all. The second peek comes in, the lineup is not there, and there's a third player that wants to chime in on the battle. There's no way they expect the 3-man alley commitment at all. Dafu wins it out. Burt from Sky takes a few hits to the back courtesy of a teammate, but Cello's the last man remaining. Finds the headshot, needs to find 2 angles, but it will not be it. Lyngby Vikings. Deja vu.
Vikings, yeah, no, absolutely. It does seem like it's a deja vu scenario because they started to line things up. 2 rounds in a row. I imagine they could continue with that way. We are definitely going for a timeout here. They're feeling pressure. Better late than never, really. Exit 5-0 in duels against Dafu. It does mean that they do have some good performances here. But I trust that MiBR think that they still need to be more comfortable in this endeavor. Talking about trust, I reckon there is a promotion we'd like to talk about, isn't there, Wild?
Mm-hmm. You can go ahead and check out our partners over at Trustly, where you don't need to have any cards or downloads or app registrations. Instead, you can make your payments flow quickly from account to account. So do go ahead and check them out. They might just make your lives a lot easier. And if you are going to check out Trustly, you can make a payment over towards at pinnacle.com/odds. If you sign up using the code CUP21 right now, you can make a deposit with Trustly. And if you bet, you can get 10 euros back on your first deposit. So do go ahead and check them out. But terms and conditions apply, and you should only bet what you can afford to lose.
Lyngby Vikings now, can they continue with a winning spree? Bird from Sky delivers onto Yell. 4 players onto the MiBR side now alive and standing. But where did they find the advantage? I mean, they're spread out across the map, but still ramp is where they're looking to challenge. Though some stray bullets have been thrown out, no real advantages has been gained. Christu holding down a good angle here with the AWP, misses out on his first shot, has to draw back instead. Bolts is also progressing from that angle. CZ, Cello, fairly close to that site. The Lyngby Vikings, they've dedicated most of their power towards the backside of the map, you know, towards B. Only having Rouse really holding down this angle. So I'm guessing they're eager to allow their opponents to get themselves on site, and they'd be happy to go for a retake because they've got a lot of utility to work around with as well.
Rawls, once again, he's being contested in an alley, but he's not going to find his previous successes at all. Dafu blindly spraying through the smoke, almost finds one, but it's actually Exit with a team kill to close it out. The utility making it so difficult for them to get the bomb down, and with only 30 seconds, perhaps they want a fair bit more control. Christu uses the smoke to his advantage as a curtain, as a bit of a one-way to take Exit out of commission. The peek comes through, the boost has been checked, but it's a 2 versus 4. The T's, there's no way they can find this. Bolts would have to go absolutely nuts, and the bomb isn't even planted for him. So that's just Christu putting one more in the grave and one more nail in the coffin.
If you think rounds and nails in the coffin, well, there's 3 in, and I'm sure there are 12 more to come from... Well, I'm not sure. I believe that Lyngby Vikings may have a chance. I am in contrast of Pinnacle odds, really, that they do believe that MiBR is the team to win things out and close this game. Lyngby Vikings, for some reason, it might take them a few rounds to jump into the game, but as soon as they start bouncing back, it's weird, really. I'm not quite sure why that is the case. Maybe that's something they need to work on and try to be in the rules just when the game starts, because they give away quite a few free rounds, really. Double upsets are coming through from them, and so far, every single one of these buy rounds that they've had for the past a few rounds, it's just looked stellar from them. Not challenging at all from the MIB side. Not even close, really. Although, look at this movement from Bird from Sky. Really close to Yell here. They can basically smell each other.
Yeah, and Bird from Sky, he's going to quickly dispose of Yell. MIB already have the man disadvantage. Dafu, he knows that a boost is coming. And all he needs to spot is the head of Cello to quickly put a bullet right through his skull. Don't think that there's much that MiBR can do off of this, to be honest.
Doesn't really feel like it, does it, for us? They're lingering a little bit, right? They're wondering, where shall we get a kill? Where can we find one? Lyngby Vikings, they're not making it easy for them, are they? I'm sure this is pretty late in the day, right? Had a long day of games. They've had a long week, let's be honest. Playing a Saturday game isn't the easiest thing, because throughout the week they've got plenty of games to play. A lot of work these guys have put on. Now they need to deliver to keep their hopes alive in the Pinnacle Cup. Have a chance to stay this tournament. Swing out. Beautiful shot from Exit. Dafu does show his card eventually. And I think that is it. Movement towards the A site, but there's players on quick pursuit. Christu doesn't give away from that angle, and Bolts is all by himself, and I imagine that AK-47 will be safe.
Lyngby Vikings are closing up the gap in a very similar fashion as to what happened on Inferno. MiBR's 5-0, it's a very fragile one. It's heavily window dressed. You never know how quickly it's all going to fall apart. It's a house of card that needs just a gust of wind. And on Vertigo, I feel like that gust of wind is a bit more likely. Manx and Christo once again on the double op setup. It feels like when they've got into the double ops, MiBR have had a much more difficult time to crack it. Christo, the aforementioned aggression I was talking about with regards to Christo, he's starting to show it. Yell did end up smoking himself out to make it a little bit easier for him to escape, but he didn't quite show his cards. Bird from Sky, he's looking for him. Yell has been found. The second spray down doesn't connect, so it's a 1-for-1 trade that actually ends up favoring Terra's side.
Bird from Sky multiple times goes for these microaggressions, and now he's shown that he can do them on Vertigo as well. But you do say this slightly favors the T side, right? Because now Lyngby Vikings, they've got a choice to make. They either polarize their lineup, or they make a gamble to one of the areas of the map. Manx, though, will make sure that that no longer is the case. They can feel strong about their whereabouts when it comes to the numbers remaining on the server, because they've got the advantage. Only 2 remaining for MiBR. I believe there's also a disconnect coming out from them. But Christo delivers onto Cello, and MiBR, it looks like they're lost. The first 4 rounds, the first 5 rounds actually from them look stellar. But it's topsy-turvy all over again. Lyngby Vikings have found their switch-off button, and they've been able to press it.
It seems like every time MiBR, they can start to step back into the driver's seat. There's a bit of a player disconnect, the PC restarts, something of that sort. But yeah, Lyngby Vikings, they've made the CT side a lot more palatable, because previously, had they gone into the next half allowing MiBR to come up with double digits or something of that sort, I think it would be giving up way too much ground. But that's not something that's allowed, luckily. We are seeing a technical pause, though, so in the meantime, why don't you go ahead and check out Pinnacle. You see the odds on the screen often. If you think that you can beat the odds, if you think that you can make better predictions than the rest of us, you can go ahead and check it out at pinnacle.com/odds, where using the code CUP21 as a first-time deposit, or rather a first-time bet bonus, you can get €10 back on a €10 bet. So do go ahead and take advantage of that.
I do believe one of the players from MiBR has their computer has crashed. They're waiting. We were waiting for him to rejoin the server. It's not the first time MiBR has had such issues, right? Seems like their computers have. Maybe it's the same one. Not quite sure, but it's starting to hurt, right? For MiBR losing out 5 rounds in a row after Lyngby Vikings, surprisingly enough, bounce back as if they weren't on that deficit from the time being. But I do like that there's some smiles coming out from the Danes. But from Sky is always in a good mood for some reason, and I like that. I really do.
He seems like one of those players that can't really be phased, and I think one of the players is starting to get a bit nervous, feel a bit sweaty, you know, just fanning his shirt very quickly.
It must be pretty hot. Where I am, all day, it's been between 36 degrees and 40 degrees. It's been painful, man. Wouldn't be able to live without air conditioning.
I mean, we're in pretty similar climates. Like, as far as the absolute heat is concerned, I don't know about the humidity, but yeah, the temperature here also hovers around that 35 to 40 mark very often. I think it's a bit lower today, maybe around the 30 mark, but
that's lucky. We've been on the top ends of 30 all day, but let's head into it again. Buy round from MiBR. They're forcing into it. It's a greedy play, but they're going for it. Thanks. Getting 1 kill out of the back of that. Daffer again, spray down. It's simple pickings from Lyngby Vikings, looking to regain the lead. The PC might have been restored into a good point, but I think MiBR, they've crashed into the sights head first, and that is a painful way to fall, as Exit is the final member surviving, and he's looking to salvage the AK to the next round.
yeah, that was kind of expected to be a bit of a throwaway from MiBR, so no surprises that goes away. But this is where maybe they can start breaking some of the momentum that Lyngby Vikings have. They've got guns. I don't know, man. You can see how the Pinnacle odds are starting to shift. Lyngby Vikings, they look unstoppable 6 rounds in a row on the CT side, and honestly, I'm starting to get worried for MiBR because we've already discussed this where MiBR, they feel the best, they play the best when they're on the terrorist side. And this 3-man defense on the A site will be what's left to take care of the players marching towards ramp. And we're still finding an angle here, Pavlos.
Good question there, man. He seems to be finding it on Inferno. He's had a massive impact, but can he have that same impact on Vertigo? Exit says no. Krista eliminated, but it's a nade to close Dafu's life. Bird from Sky out in the open, challenged by Cello, but Raul's quickly bouncing back, falling through. But Dafu wants to get himself a piece of that pie. Finds one head and now backs out into safety. Lyngby Vikings. They brought out Una reverse cards to everything MiBR has been bringing out so far. 6-5, but likely to be 7-5 as they do have the numbers advantage, but it's definitely not over for MiBR just yet.
With SZ getting an additional kill, it certainly makes things a lot easier, and this is their opportunity to claw back into it. Manx will be the defender of the B site, AWP in hand, and now both teammates have regrouped. Cello and SZ, if they can get onto the bomb site without a scratch, then at that point I can start believing in them. But Manx has a nade as well, which will certainly make sure that Cello doesn't get to live even if the AWP shot is missed.
Well, it does miss. So at least it gives some space for MiBR to work with. Looking for the headshot, but Dafu, the swing was so quick. SHC barely had time to react. Smoke out Cello. That limits his positions from where he can peek, and Dafu was there and waiting. 4 kills for that man so far in this round. In a grand total, actually, because I don't think he can find any other kills. Not shoot on top of the skyscraper down to civilians, but that would be that'd be cheating.
He is the man that's been really popping off on the server today. Going 13-7 when the closest teammate is going 9-6. You gotta love to see a standout performance, trying to keep everybody in the game. MiBR, they have something similar in the form of exit, but it simply isn't enough. And once again, we are seeing a technical pause. Don't think the PCs are being too friendly today, but that's just the nature of online Counter-Strike. It happens. I mean, that can even happen on LAN, to be honest.
Yeah, it definitely can. It's unfortunate that these things do exist, right? Wouldn't it be great if you could just get on your day without get on your games and tournaments without having the issues? But they do exist. Hopefully they happen again, really, because it's been a recurring theme when it comes to this matchup, right? In the series, we've had quite a few technical pauses. Close endeavor, man. Really is. Lyngby Vikings now are ahead, and you start to see some statistics lining up in their favor. Of course, we've said it's been a back and forth situation. But I can safely say the suicides have been increased by 1 from the Lyngby Viking side. And 1 has been brought on to the MiBR side. That is my favorite statistic, suicides, really. Yeah. You don't need to look at the headshots, the kills, or anything. Just look at the suicides and you'll know who should be the victor. Heading right into it, Yao will try and get himself the entry, but Christu quickly puts his foot onto him. SHZ, though, slaps him silly and says, no, we have another say in the matter. MiBR are eager to get themselves pushed up onto this ramp.
They've brought it down to a 4-on-4, but Cello's good for the entry. Rawls responds, and maybe they can get some more because Bird from Sky and Rawls, they're tag teaming up. Bird is still left unchecked, but it doesn't even matter. He doesn't need to peek out from his nest because Rawls is good enough to find all 3 pickings. It's exit. Remaining in a 1v3, the bomb has been given up. There's still a minute on the clock, and this is going to be an attempt at a half at a 1v3. So difficult to get his foot through the door. And you can see that he doesn't find a chance here. I think he wants to stay as far away from this as possible. making sure that nobody will come through on the retake, but now that he's managed to clear out the B bomb site entirely, he knows that they must be defending the bomb.
Traversing through the map little by little. We've got a feel for MiBR because that was a full buy and they really do not have money to work with, do they? Their bank accounts pretty much look like mine right now. Empty. No summer vacation for them, I'm afraid. By that, I mean no summer vacation for me. That's sad. Nah, I'll be fine. And potentially MiBR can be fine. But Lyngby Vikings, they're giving them a hard time.
It's crazy to think that there was a 5-round lead for MiBR, 5-0, but now the Blue Dots have flooded the scoreboard. It's 8-0 in the past 8 rounds for Lyngby Vikings. You can't hear a peep from MiBR anymore. The money's completely shattered, and this is where they have to take some hard decisions.
I mean, you know how to go the tempo map, Wild. Because when one team, yeah, absolutely. Because when one team starts lining up rounds, it seems like they never want to stop. But I didn't interrupt you. We're trying to say something there for us. I'm interested to see what that was.
I'm actually not sure anymore.
Oh well. It's been a long day for us as well, not for not only for the players. And I'm sure they're ready to get back into it as much as we are. 4-0 and duels against Yell for Dafu. He's done a splendid job so far today. I wonder if he can continue with this performance, because it's been out of this world when it comes to this map. 8-5, looking to line things up to a 9-5, considering that MLBR have only got one rifle to work with.
Could this be the hero AK that saves them from the 8-round deficit? But from Sky, the flashbang is perfect from the teammate, and that allows Yell to be picked off of the server. Lyngby Vikings, suddenly, it seems like they firmly have their hands on the steering wheel. They're trying to make this AK pop off, the boost. Spots out the elbow. The M4 does connect for a few shots by bolts, but isn't good enough to get a frag on either side of the board. Cello tries to get a bit cheeky with the Desert Eagle, but that doesn't really pay off now, does it?
Doesn't. You did mention Lyngby Vikings have both hands on the steering wheel, but MiBR have consistently trying to shoot those hands, and I think they've been able to damage one of them, which puts Lyngby Vikings in a weird spot, considering that Dafu is fairly low as well. But I don't think Bird from Sky will give them any opportunity to move onwards, especially considering there's no flash for them to peek through. One, but it's a trade out. Bolts, he could find an AK-47 here. Exit has won as well, so it's a 2v3 and Devil with the bomb going down. MiBR have got a chance.
Do they, though? It's just Exit remaining. He's been the man that has led the charge with regards to kills. Maybe he can do it. It's a chance at a 1v3. He's picked off the player in boost, but the bomb is being defused, and as he peeks out, Christo will take care of it. 9 rounds in a row for Lyngby Vikings. When will the carnage stop?
When will it stop? Good question. And I'm interested to hear why you say when and not if it will stop. Because currently, of course, they've got a buy round going for them and the potential to square things up slightly, I guess, giving them a more reasonable scoreline to come back from. A 9-6 half isn't that bad. But if Lyngby Vikings get a 10th, that would be 10 rounds in a row. And with a pistol round, they could marginally find them ahead of their opponents.
Christo, we haven't seen him miss too many shots now, but let's see if MiBR can still get a claw in before the half expires. Christo, the Molotov makes him scurry away, tuck his tail. This could finally be an opportunity for MiBR to stop them from double digits, but we never actually thought that it would even get to this point, considering how strong the lead of MiBR was. 5 rounds definitely shouldn't be where they stopped. SHZ doesn't even get a chance to see his assailant as he's been sprayed down through his smoke.
Ooh, hello there. Goodbye, MiBR. They're back in this. We've got a chance. Keeping a few players of the Lyngby Vikings side busy as well. Smoke out. Definitely will try and keep an eye on that regard. But in the meantime, looking to move across. Oh dear, can't quite run away to safety, and Cello will be able to shut him down. It's all down to Rouse on this A site, as Exit will try and peek on through, and he's successful in finding the kill as well. MiBR, it took them 9 rounds, but I think they may have a chance here to close things out. Manx and Dafu need excellence, and Manx won't be the man to find just that. Neither will Dafu. MiBR close things out in this half, at least on a good note, but it's Lyngby Vikings to lead 9-6.
Yeah, I'm not sure where they found the courage there at the very end to try to close it out, but they've stopped double digits, so that's something. MiBR, now they've got the burden of the CT side coming their way. Oh, interesting statistic. Lyngby Vikings have not dropped a single round where they got the first kill. That is crazy stuff. It seems like all they need is that first opening. They're happy to capitalize. Making their way on towards ramp. They've got a lot of utility committed to this, don't they? Rowls, Manx, Bird from Sky. They've got smokes out the wazoo. And MiBR, their entire game plan is mostly around the sets of Kevlar, having a kid on Yell, and having a smoke to work with as well.
Oh, you can see the rotations coming in from MiBR. Actually, only one player on pursuit of this site. They may think this is a fake. And they could be right as well. Look at the rotations. Quickly moving away, but no, they're committing to the A site instead. Bomb going down. MiBR out of this. They're going to need to go for a 5-man retake if they want to make this work, as Christie backs out. So do the rest of them. Yell, though, has got 1 smoke remaining, the final smoke in the line of MiBR, and he also has the defuse kit, so he needs to make sure they get himself onto that site safe and sound. Dafu lines 1 up, Cello as well, yet quickly does perform in that endeavor, but from Sky also chimes in. They're doing a lot of damage. Lyngby Vikings don't want to let them cross through. Usually you see them holding off from Rap, but no, they want to hold things out from sight, but that might be costly in the end. Chrisu does line 1 up, but it's all down to Chrisu as Birth from Sky has to fall. He's bought plenty of time. The defuse will ensue. Does he have time? I'm not quite sure. It's going to be very, very close. And he's found it. 7 rounds in for MiBR as they win the pistol, and a good chance for them to close out the gap.
The kit from Yell changed everything. Had they not had the kit, there's no way they'd get out ahead in that regard, but what a showing. Perhaps MiBR can still claw their way back into this. They're showing us signs of life, but so are Lyngby Vikings, honestly. I mean, they actually have a better set of weaponry than the MiBR squad do, so this is anyone's round. However, whoever ends up losing this round, their economy will be in trouble, so then we can start to predict the pace of the game a little bit more. Both teams neck and neck, breathing down each other's collars. A simple flashbang could change the outcome of this round. A player being spotted has Rouse. Spotted the player in scaffolding. Ooh. The MP9 can almost get the lineup, and Rouse is so damaged from that affair.
From Sky, look at that though. He's looking to challenge Exit here, but that close angle will favor the MP9 substantially. Dafu lines up from a secondary angle and is able to capitalize on the kill. Instantly, the B site is in favor of the Lyngby Vikings side, and they've got full control over it. Yell, what can he do in this angle, really? They both swing simultaneously. SHC receives a bullet to the head, right through the smoke, and he has no idea how that even happened. Maybe he'll find an alternative angle to work on to Bird from Sky. It looks like he's been able to do so. Looks to fall back. He's only got 10 points of health, so I wouldn't be surprised if Lyngby Vikings actually do go for this, but he's found another off angle here, and unless Dafu checks this corner, that could also be Dafu to fall. It's a matter of timing, really, and Dafu's been able to find it. Not only did Lyngby Vikings win out to rounds and bounce back from MiBR's pistol, they also kill all of their opponents in the meantime.
This is tough, Pavlos, because now MiBR won't have the money at all. They don't get the ability to even buy a... I'm not sure why they go for Deagles here.
Because it's MiBR.
Well, it does. Yeah, I mean, okay, yeah, it's MiBR, but also a more logical reason would be that They expect a double eco anyway. They know that they're not going to have much money for a full CT-sided setup, so they want to go for the gamble. They don't really need that extra money, but in the meantime, Lyngby Vikings are happy to take this up. Let's take them up on the Deagle offer. They just want to get easy pickings, but this double down and alley might make it very difficult for Lyngby Vikings to pierce on forward. MiBR.
For us, I feel like Lyngby Vikings have never been in the spot where they're the ones, apart from having the tempo, are actually ahead in the round scoreline, right? We saw it on the latter stages of map number 2, but this early on in a map, this has never happened. And I think Lyngby Vikings are really enjoying this. And I don't think the odds have ever been in favor of Lyngby Vikings this much either.
At the peak of MiBR having the odds in their favor, they weren't as favor for them as they are for Lyngby Vikings at the moment. So you can see the faith being restored in the Lyngby side. MiBR, they're playing so well. Sorry, not MiBR, but Lyngby Vikings.
Yeah, I was about to say that, man.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's a... MiBR, have they really been playing it well? I doubt it, because from 5-0, it went to 11-7. They've only been able to pick up 2 rounds after the fact. Okay, now that's some kind of mistake that maybe MiBR would be happy to see when they actually had guns.
Triple boost. Spotted out. Back from Sky. Oh, goodbye though, Cello.
That little piece of miscommunication. Did you see that, where they both jumped at the same time?
I did. That was unfortunate. It gave away an audio cue as well, so that was a reason. But they receive a bullet through the nostrils in because of that. Exit will shortly be shown as well, Max. Quick work of the 2 remaining players. Ooh, actually, SHC puts a dent into the lineup of Lyngby Vikings, but is that really good enough for us? Is it?
Not too, Well, I mean, MiBR still have a shot. There's no denying it. Of course, I mean, if Lyngby Vikings can do it, if they can have a bit of a comeback going for them, they almost had it on Mirage. They were able to successfully bring it through on Inferno. MiBR can show the same signs of life. Unfortunately, this is something I talked about in the pregame, that MiBR haven't been looking too hot. They've been losing out games consistently. They haven't really shown too many stellar performances on LAN. Like you mentioned, going home would be the next step. They need to put some wins under their belt. Lyngby Vikings, they're not going to allow this with that much ease. Pitiful 1-for-1 trade, but it does favor Lyngby Vikings as they are the terrorist side.
Now, Lyngby Vikings equalize the numbers, but health-wise, MiBR are better off. Ramp to be the avenue they want to explore. Feels like MiBR don't quite have the substantial resources to deal with this attack. No rotations have come in either. Are they happy to go for the retake? Because let's be honest, it's a gamble. That might not pay off because Lyngby Vikings, they're already finding themselves at the depths of this ramp side. But already, never mind, scratch that, MiBR are really close to the situation. The bomb hasn't quite gone down yet, and they're eager to get the kills in before the defuse comes out as well. Rouse finds 1, but in the process they lose on 2 of their own, which means Lyngby Vikings, they're on a deficit when it comes to numbers, but they at least have the bomb to work around.
Yeah, the smoke makes it a little bit easier, but Christo's got the 808 AP. He's switching at the wrong time. Now Manx, his position's been largely left unchecked. He doesn't have much HP to work with, but the headshots won't come through. MiBR. That's a gate being opened up for them.
Oh, it absolutely is. It's a gate to the secret garden.
It is quite a heavy gate, though, considering the economy of the Lyngby Viking side. If they have to push on, they have to push at it with full force. Otherwise, it's probably not going to open and allow them free passage. Absolutely not.
Yeah, it wouldn't be much of a gate to the secret garden if it was easy to open, would it?
Mm-hmm. Wouldn't be much of a secret garden to begin with if anybody could get in there.
Fair point. Vikings, though. Can they bounce back? Can they retaliate? I think that's a big winning scenario, winning case scenario, really, for either of these teams, because bouncing back is the name of the game at this point, right? There's not one team, usually, that takes it all. It always comes down to mini streaks and shutting it down and trying to create your own little streak. That's sort of been the theme so far in this series, and that's no different into Vertigo. That's actually just increased on Vertigo. Boost coming through, exit. Not quite able to spot it. Out nade onto SHC. Takes him down to 53 points of health. But apart from that, Lyngby Vikings, they're split up entirely.
Exit is the only man that will be holding on to the B side, but now the reinforcements are starting to come in. A flashbang impedes their progress a little bit. Exit. Oh, that should have been an easy kill. His opponent was flashbang, but now Manx has gotten up close and personal. This makes the duel significantly easier for him. Trying to spam through the smoke, he wants to make sure that these players are kept on the ace site. Nice kill from SNC, but this is where they back off the ramp.
My heart fluttered in that regard. Oh, and Christu tries his luck, but MiBR, their lineups are looking swell. And so does Yell. So many kills going their favor, and Lyngby Vikings aren't quite able to bounce back from it. They'll be saving 2 rifles, but other than that, MiBR, they'll be on hot pursuit. 9 rounds on the board. That is 3 away from their opponents, and that is definitely within grasp distance.
Yeah, it's a much better deal for the Vikings to get away with their weapons instead of count on the round loss bonus, because it's not really been built up too much anyway. They get away with 2 rifles, but this is where they start banking on those hero AK plays. Well, actually, Christo can still buy out for himself. He can buy a Galil and some utility as well. So with Rouse getting his own AK, that's another full buy from the Viking side. A bit lacking in utility. Maybe you see a few pieces missing on Rawls and Bird from Sky and so on and so forth. But for the most part, it should be chaos regardless. Lyngby Vikings, they want to move right into ramp.
They absolutely do. Switching up the tempo, maybe that's what they require. Bird from Sky up first with that AK, looking to push through, but the nade damage is substantial. Yeah, he lines up too, but Raul's able to retaliate. Ooh, but Bolt's bouncing back from it, 2v3. And MiBR do have the numbers. Need to finish up the deal. They do find themselves double digits, and Lyngby Vikings on the brink of economical collapse. Scratch that, they have economically collapsed.
Does seem to be the case. But man, Pavlos, is this smelling like one more of those games where it's almost guaranteed to be in overtime? Because I didn't really expect MiBR to start chaining rounds together. And with the Deagles that Lyngby Vikings have at the moment, I really don't expect much of it. I mean, they're on the T side, and I do think holding angles with the Desert Eagle is a lot easier. The nade, very, very juicy as it cooks Christo and Rawls. And although Max has gotten a kill with the Deagle, I do think it'll be ultimately meaningless.
Yeah, it does tend to be. I'm going to be honest with you, Faraz. This is one of those games that feels weird, right? This is one of those games that neither team seems to have a grasp of the control, or when they do, at least it doesn't last very long. And it's not even a back and forth, really. It's not a close game in that regard. When one team seems to be winning, they win in a pretty demanding fashion. Like I said, it's one of those weird games, and it's been like that for this entire series. Which I'm guessing is pretty tiring for the players as well, pretty demanding mentally. And MiBR now on 11, 1 round away from catching up entirely with their opposition. It's definitely straining the morale of Lyngby Vikings as well, there for the timeout.
And I imagine that the odds are going to be all over the place after this, because now I imagine nobody would have a clue who ends up winning this game. But if you feel like you have a better clue about who's going to win this game, you can head on over to pinnacle.com/odds, where they have a really good offer up for grabs at the moment. If you bet 10 euros, you get 10 euros back on your deposits. So do go ahead and check that out. Gamble responsibly and only bet what you can afford to lose. Terms and conditions apply.
Vikings. They've been in this focus mode for a while, right? All of these guys. It's tough to be in this focused, tranquil state for so long, and for that reason, we've seen them fall from these substantial leads. MiBR are the ones to bounce back though now, and it seems like they're on a good avenue to close things out here. At least the lead, at least close the gap. It will be the equalized scoreline of 12-12, and they haven't even taken a single hint of damage across the board.
Yeah, Pavlos, it's crazy
ridiculous.
how significant Lyngby Vikings' lead was and how long it took them to get there. But MiBR, they bounced back in a snap. It honestly does not feel like there was as big of a round as there was. And MiBR now certainly on 12 rounds, maybe even getting into 13 with the economy being broken down for Lyngby Vikings. This is a strong showing. If we expected a comeback from a team, it must have been Lyngby Vikings, but for MiBR to bring it back in this fashion, it's starting to get tough for Lyngby.
Man, does that statement you made earlier remind you of anything? Having a substantial lead and then all of a sudden the other team bouncing back?
Yeah, that's all we've been casting today.
It's been the case throughout this game, throughout the series. On the one hand, it's fairly surprising, right? On the one hand, it's very... Ooh, never mind, scratch that. Bolts on the backside of things. Looking to run away with Bird from Sky's life. Peeking through again, says peekaboo, Dafu goodbye. So yet again, MiBR look to gain the lead. The question is, how long before they make the mistake, right? How long before Lyngby Vikings can bounce back? Or maybe this is it. Made, though. We'll say no to that. As Rails runs away with a bomb. Does he actually have time to rotate towards ramp, get the bomb planted? It's a shorter rotation time for the CTs because he needs to wrap around the entire ramp. And Cello, he's already here.
At least he can manage to isolate the duel, but he needs to do it fast before SZ can come close in time. Oh, that's not even the bomb. That's a bit unfortunate for Rals. Lyngby Vikings, their economy there was previously feeling the pressure, but just the sheer amount of loss bonus being built up now is going to be all-out chaos. And if you look at the MiBR squad, they've built up such a mountain of gold that they've got nothing to worry about as far as guns are concerned.
Of course, ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to make any transactions online, Trustly is basically the service that you can trust. Safe, quick, swift transfers from account to account. No app download, with no cards. It's an easy procedure, really, that you could take advantage over. And you could even use it over at Pinnacle as well, with all your betting needs. Go check them out. I'm sure it's worth it. Bolts holding it down though with the AK. The buy round comes through from Lyngby Vikings. They've already bounced back with a kill, but they've taken a substantial amount of damage. Is that going to be good enough to put them right back into the game?
I honestly think this favors MiBR more than Lyngby Vikings at the moment because of the amount of damage that Dafu and Bird from Sky have taken from this. Just make sure that they can't even get onto a bomb site without the threat of nades being around the corner. And because of how the bomb plant works, because of how easy it is for utility to be lined up to retake Vertigo, or rather the A bomb site on Vertigo, do fair for the Lyngby Vikings squad. But let's see if MiBR can bring it back a little bit. The AWP shot not connecting, and now this AWP is out in the open. Another missed shot. You can see that Cello's feeling the pressure. Simply burns up, doesn't even have a say in the matter.
Ooh, Christo bounces back with that. Lyngby Vikings look like they want the equalizer. Ooh, Christo. It's easy pickings at this point. Exit. He's on the exit of that smoke, and it looks like he's on his way out of this endeavor as well. Maybe to get a few exit frags. Okay, that's enough of these jokes. They're not even catchy. They're not even funny. And he's successful in getting one. Lyngby Vikings. That's the equalizer, man. Oh, this is crazy. This is honestly crazy. I've never experienced a game like this before. It's a back and forth, but it's a weird one. But that's a decisive round for Lyngby Vikings to find them the equalizer.
I love how either of these teams will take a timeout and then immediately come back. It's as if the timeouts are carrying them through the game. And once again, it is anybody's game. It was the case on Inferno, and it's the case on Vertigo. A Molotov early on by Cello, but Christo's done the majority of the damage. Yell. No longer on the squad of MiBR. He will be saying goodbye. Just for this round. That's not an announcement for a disband. Don't worry about that. But Christo, adding one more to the tally, makes the advantage a lot bigger. Luckily, however, Exit might have been able to bring it back.
Christo making his way to the upper side of the map. It's dangerous enough, he's got the bomb. No real reinforcements either. I mean, they're also joining up right now. It's not like he's going in blind without it. That would have been a huge mistake. But no one will be challenging them, apart from Bolts actually holding down the angle. It's all up to timing, but he backs out from it. Eventually we'll peek through again, but no, he moves out towards the A site. This could be a clear avenue towards the B site. You've got Dafu modeling it through. They're waiting for the rotations. Are they peeking out, though? Do they expect it? Dafu, I'm expecting he'll make a lot of noise towards ramp to allure the players onto that site. Rather than that, they might be able to catch them on rotation. Exit moves out, but from Sky is able to shoot a few bullets onto him. Doesn't quite find the close. SSZ wins the kill over onto Dafu. In the process, though, they do make their way onto the B site. They've done a little bit of damage onto Exit, but the bomb does go down, and that is where Lyngby Vikings will stand.
That's a significant advantage for them. MiBR, they are questioning whether or not they can comfortably go for it. The Flames, as they are doused, Lyngby Vikings will apply a little bit more pressure. They've got some utility saved up. It's Christo with a double flashbang. And now MiBR, they want to move right in. This is going to be so difficult as the time has already ticked halfway down. There are 3 players they need to deal with, but they've come out on top. They've taken away the AWP. Can they actually do this? Rawls, he has to defend. Almost gets the 3rd, but it's been done in time. Exit, does he have the defuse?
I think he does.
Barely!
Oh, the bomb. It shined green. Lyngby Vikings. They couldn't quite hold on. Rawls. Finally an effort in the end, but it's not an effort that will come out victorious. It's not one that is rewarded in MiBR. According to the Pinnacle Cup odds, they are favored to close things out. They are in the lead, 14-13. Both teams have got a bye round going for them. Let's see if MiBR can close this game out, or Lyngby Vikings. They'll definitely take a chance if they're given it.
You can see that the pressure on Lyngby must be building up because look at how deep they've had to dig into their wallets. Exit wants to take initiative, and it ends up working out in his favor. Not for long, though, as the Flames and the bullets will eat him up. That's a Molotov for Lyngby Vikings to want to push on forward, but Bolts is not playing aggressively enough for it to matter. Now, MiBR, they are happy with this trade because they've gotten 1 kill, and Dafu and Max have been tagged up significantly as well. Just 1 shot from the M4 will mean certain death. Rawls. Great angle. Oh no, that's the barrel spotted.
And now we'll look to get himself a second. Yell peeks through. So Lyngby Vikings, though, they're the ones with the numbers. Yell backs out of it and has a chance to defend the site together with Cello. Smokes out. Yell gets a close out angle. Molly to deter the push from him, but he backs out. But the alleyway has been taken over by Rouse quickly, though MiBR able to bounce back. They've got the numbers. The bomb hasn't gone down just yet, but there's 35 seconds remaining. Smoke again, but it's out in the open. Yell peeks through Cello as well. MiBR are on map and series points.
I actually love how Cello and Yell played it in that instance. They knew they didn't have the numbers advantage, but constantly isolating duels that would be more favorable, hopping on over towards ramp, hopping onto alley, just making sure that the most uncomfortable duel will be granted to the T side. That's what ended up getting them the map point, and you can see that maybe for the first time, Lyngby Vikings are starting to feel the pressure, because you generally don't see Burt from Sky down in the dumps, but he does seem to be that way. Only 2 rounds separate them from the potential of an overtime. You can see the fatigue in the eyes of the players. And MiBR, they want to waltz on over to the finish line. It's been a very competitive affair, but MiBR now they're starting to run away with it. SZZ, his position is perfect. As long as he can avoid the first flashbang, should be able to mow them down, but instead he chooses the route of passivity because he knows that there's no reason for him to aggress forward. Only 2 Molotovs as well, so few angles will be cleared out by the Vikings.
Ooh, they don't check it. They haven't mollied it. They haven't checked it at all. SHD says it's perfect. They line up. Oh dear, Rolls 180-degree turn, and he's able to find the kill. Keeps Lyngby Vikings in the game. It might not be over yet, but that could have been a situation where MiBR could have put a stamp on this game and called it their own. Lyngby Vikings aren't going to make that easy, are they, for us?
Absolutely not. They still have a chance to get back into it. A smoke makes it a bit easier for them to get onto the bomb site. Cello, he's got a nade, so maybe he can nade it out, but he's too far for this process. Now, 3-on-4 retake. This is interesting, Pavlos.
Yes, indeed. Thanks, holding a close angle. Forcements from the left and behind. Quickly. Moving in. Flash. They line up for Max. Exit kills his own teammate, Max. It's down to Cello. But he backs away from it. MiBR, this is not where they close things out. Lyngby Vikings, they bounce back yet another time. The bomb will explode, and Cello can only look away in frustration and mourn his teammates' deaths. Gets one in the process, doesn't make it easy. But Lyngby Vikings, oh, they're looking for overtime.
I asked you, Pavlos, I asked you whether or not you could smell the signs of a potential overtime game once again. And I think this game had all the makings of it. Back and forth, round after round, momentum being built up by either team and being shattered by the other. But now this is the final stand that Lyngby Vikings can take. Bolts might be the only member that defends, or it's actually Exit this time. You normally see Bolts on the back of the B bomb site, but it seems like Lyngby Vikings want to move right into B.
Yeah, Bolts now will come onto the site as well, trying to help out, collaborate together with his teammate to close things out. Dafu gets taken out initially, but Rouse quickly to get himself another kill in that endeavor. Cello puts a bullet straight through his opponent's head. It is MiBR with the numbers advantage, but Lyngby Vikings slowly taking control of the site. They're aggressive forwards. Oh dear, Christu getting one, so Lyngby Vikings on the verge of taking things to overtime, but they might line up for Cello. One kill goes his way, but Rouse able to shut things out. SHC, he's so low, but they've done it. 16-14. It took them map number 3 to close things out. It doesn't look like they're too pleased about this endeavor. It was just definitely too close for comfort, but I'm sure they are glad they're over with this and they're still in the Pinnacle Cup Swiss stage.
Lyngby Vikings was a team that was expected to win this. We thought that MiBR, being on that downturn, they wouldn't be able to take it. But man, what a surprise, Pavlos. MiBR even giving up their lead, by the way. Let me remind you, they were up 5-0, and then Lyngby Vikings got 8 or 9 rounds in a row. I'm not sure how MiBR can come back from the shattering of mental that comes through if you drop your lead like that, but they managed to do it. They come out 16-14 out of all things.
Absolutely, but let's have a look at the Swiss stage and how it currently stands as this team has come underway. And together with the other matches that we saw today, we saw Endpoint and Sinners get themselves out of the Swiss stage straight out of the bat. now into the playoffs, but we've also said goodbye to 100p Gods and Team 1 earlier this week. But Lyngby Vikings, Argo, and Double Pony have greeted them today in that regard. Still fighting for remaining in this tournament are Fiend, Skade, MiBR, Copenhagen Flames, and the rest that you see on top. Let's not name all of them, but as you can see, it is a really close endeavor with so many good teams performing. But unfortunately, we'll be saying goodbye to Lyngby Vikings as we just saw them get eliminated. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much for joining in on our games today. It's been a pleasure having you on the stream watching, and we hope that you join in on further streams for the Pinnacle Cup #2. My name is Xori, of course, with Valderi. We hope you enjoyed our commentary for the day, but for now, we'll be signing out and we'll be wishing you a very good Saturday evening.